All right, all right, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ward Radio live stream. I am your host, Cardon Ellis. And today we are taking out the candles and we are summoning my friends, principal among them, the Mormon patron saint of all things civil, none other than Brad Witbeck, joining us via Zoom here to talk.
Is that an actual candle?
Yeah, that's yeah. You'd never seen these ones before, bro.
I've seen that you had some. I didn't know you'd made one of me.
No. This is by Small and Simple Screens. This is Austin Falter, and it's Saint Brad, patron saint of Canadians, voice actors, luscious hair, and dragons. But you, as the diplomat of Ward Radio, you as the Switzerland of Ward Radio, I just thought we'd burn a candle to you for a second, because we've also had to summon another diplomat, shall we call him, another diplomat from the Ward Radio wigwam in, I believe, what is his first appearance on Ward Radio. We have none other than Kurt Frankham from Leading Saints.
What's up? Does this mean Brad's not the nicest guy on the stream right now? Is that what's happening?
Oh, let's hope so, because I am frustrated with this clip. So
yeah, Brad seemed about just as fired up as I was after seeing this clip. So I just said, you know what, we need to bring in somebody just a little bit more stable. And today we're going to be talking about this hot pile of flaming anti-Mormon garbage. And I usually don't say that. Like, honestly, for any of you guys that are just joining us right now, generally on the show, we actually really do try and give the benefit of the doubt to people that have concerns or commentary about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But every once in a while, there's a doozy that just breaks through that cannot be explained, at least in my book, by anything other than just plain old religious bigotry. And one of those breakthroughs happened today on the YouTube channel titled Cross Examined, and the video is called Every Mormon Needs to See This. Well, we saw it, and as stated before, it was bad. In a nutshell, it's a mockery of the martyrdom of Joseph Smith through this horrible and just cruel recycled trope that he was not indeed a martyr, but basically, for all intents and purposes, quote, deserved what he got in a victim-blaming kind of way because he, quote, died in a shootout. All right. Now, it's one of the smaller, more recycled tropes, but it's gaining steam in the evangelical anti-Mormon community as espoused by Frank Turek. And despite myriad attempts at trying to deal with him reasonably and rationally and civilly by reaching out, it's just kind of been a little bit of a stonewall. So we're just going to be reacting to this. And
yeah, Luke Hansen was reaching out saying, hey, let's have a chat about this. And I'm like, yes, please chat with Luke about it, because he will be the most level-headed about it when you guys chat. Because, I don't know. I don't understand how he got such bad information, but let's get into it in the actual clip.
Okay, yeah. So we're just
going to... Oh, by the way.
Yeah?
Like the stream, if you've ever seen someone misrepresent our faith online.
Yeah, now we're talking. I want to see those streaming numbers just totally skyrocket. In fact, actually, I have to make sure that I can see all of the comments here, because if you guys have any comments that you guys would like to contribute to the program, and you send us any super chats, we do our best to try and read all appropriate and germane super chats live if we can. So without any further ado, we're going to head back to Frank Turek from Cross Examined. All right, and we're going to react to what he just had to say.
Well, I'm Nathan. I'm a Latter-day Saint, and I know you kind of said that you want to, if someone has kind of any, I guess, claim for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, you'd want to hear it.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask, kind of going back, you said, right, to the witnesses of the resurrection.
Yeah.
Right, that they're credible, right, they didn't get things like sex or money or power from them, right? There was really kind of no benefit from them if they were to make it up.
Okay, and I'm just going to pause.
So pause just for a second. Yeah, cool. We're on the same page.
You go first.
Okay, so what we have here is a guy who pretty clearly to me looks up to Frank Turek, right? This is some college student guy who is interested in sharing what he believes sincerely with Frank Turek. he's like, hey, you mentioned that you're interested in the stuff that we have to say. Here are these witnesses that you talked about and how they didn't benefit in any way. Like, we have something similar in my church, and I want to share that with you, right? This is a dude who is engaging in good faith. And so, man, this is why what happens next is just so perplexing to me. And it makes me wonder what on earth is happening. What happened through the rest of this meeting that Frank had, and what's going through his head right now that he turns around and does what he's about to do?
Yeah. Any thoughts before we continue, Kurt?
Well, I just want to point out that it's kind of ironic that Frank Turek's name is just my name, like jumbled up, like 'cause I'm Kurt Frankum and he's Frank Turek.
Frank Turek. The
So I think it's like I'm supposed to be here. I'm like the official Latter-day Saint responder to Frank Turek, I guess, even though I'm probably not very good at it. But
that's funny.
I think this is a good, and this is really interesting. Just and we'll have to break this down, but just the step by step of how Frank dodges this question and totally misses, and suddenly we're talking about Joseph Smith in a shootout. But anyways.
Yeah. So let's go back. My only thought and commentary right now is I agree with you, Brad. This guy obviously seems like a young kid who maybe did not know who Frank Turek is, or only saw him as like maybe an anti-atheist. And Mormons do this all the time. We think that the enemy of our enemy is our friend. Okay? And just because maybe Frank Turek has some good content on anti-atheism, maybe has some good content on, hey, I don't want to say biblical archaeology, but faith promoting content surrounding the Bible or scripture, does not mean that just because he's pro-faith, he's pro-Mormon. You can actually be wildly pro-faith and wildly anti-Mormon simultaneously in North America very easily. Okay. So I would just say, bro, if anybody knows this kid, please get him in contact with us. We'll you get credit, Nathan, for being counted amongst the believers. Okay.
Yeah.
When called and counted, you stood and you said, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That is unimpeachably good. You get credit. I'm not going to say you tanked the other half of this, bro. But I will say that let's just talk before you step up to a microphone giving Frank Turek a chance. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know who he is and what you're about to do, which is, and what you're going to have to engage in and at what level, because this is toxic anti-Mormonism. So Nathan, we'll just lead you through the next one, right, bro? We'll just lead you through the next one. So, and by we, I mean me, and I don't expect Brad or Kurt to endorse any of my statements right now. They can just smile and nod and be like, I can't wait to get out over this live stream. So anyway, let's see what Nathan has to say.
What would be your response to the witnesses that we have for the Book of Mormon? Because it's kind of a similar situation, right? They didn't gain any power. They didn't gain money from their witnesses of the Book of Mormon.
What did they witness?
They witnessed that you have 19 witnesses that Joseph Smith had the gold plates.
So pause.
Okay.
What's going on in this dude's head? This sincere kid comes up to talk to him, and the first thing he does is this combative little, what did they witness? You know, like, he's so mad already. I don't understand what's going through his head in this moment. Like, he just, I don't know if he's offended by something previous in the meeting, right? That like led to his patience being snapping at this point. Like, it's very odd to me, but he is clearly dodging around what the kid's actual argument is. And we'll see him do that the rest of the way. I just think it's such an interesting contrast to see the sincerity of the dude asking the question, going through and saying, hey, here is the thing that I think is a really interesting thing you should consider. And then him, what did they witness? Right? Like, bro, back off.
Well, and I've heard Frank Turek respond to like a similar question where he talks about the golden plates. And I've heard him say this trope over and over again. Well, I can make plates in my garage. Like, he always talks about making golden plates in his garage. So I think what he's trying to set up with that question is, he's like, what did he witness? He wants Nathan to say, well, the golden plates. And then he would have responded, well, I can make golden plates in my garage, right? And so he's trying to like really minimize the the divinity or the miraculous experience of seeing a stack of gold plates.
Yeah. I can see why he always avoids our emails. He prefers to pick on, guys that are going into a lion's den thinking they're about to do a petting zoo. So, all right, here we go.
What are gold plates miraculous?
Okay. Yes. Now, not themselves, but the transmission and the translation of the golden plates. Like, clarify what you mean when you say, are golden plates miraculous? Now, at the end of the day, we're not expecting Nathan to remember that, nor is this scheduled as a debate. It was supposed to be a Q&A, so it's just a bad format to start engaging in an anti-Mormon argument with somebody. But I would actually say yes, and I would have expounded upon this. But then again, he probably never would have called on me.
Well, and I would add that you could say, is a man walking out of a tomb miraculous? Like, I have been to the garden tomb. I've walked out of the tomb. Is that miraculous? No, the point that makes it miraculous is the fact that it was a dead man who'd been dead for 3 days walking out of the tomb. The thing that makes the golden plates miraculous is what they produced, which is the Book of Mormon, that we can actually still engage with.
Yes, exactly.
And the angel appearing to the three witnesses and saying, hey, the record that is translated from these plates is true. The voice of God, it was here for these people, like, this is not something to just be treated as flippantly and lightly as Frank Turek so desperately seems to want to.
Yeah. So we continue. All right, Frank Turek, go.
Are gold plates miraculous?
In the way that Joe Smith received them, yes.
But how do they know that he received them in a miraculous way?
Well, actually, that was a good answer, Nathan.
Yeah, he did fine.
4 witnesses.
We haven't completely derailed yet because I think Frank has not completely committed to dodging out of this actual thing that is a genuine thing I think every Christian should consider.
Okay.
And I think Frank is wondering, like, this is such a good kid. Like, do I want to crush him? Do I really want to crush him? I don't know.
Oh no, he's acting
I don't even know
that
if he's
way.
thinking about that.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I don't know. This seems. I grew up with these cats. Trust me. He thinks this is what's so hilarious. The Frank Tureks of this world share the exact same point of view as the atheistic professors. That you're stupid if you believe, and I'm smarter than you. That's to me, that's the error that's coming across right now. Is you, Nathan, are stupid for your belief. I'm smarter than you, and I will at best. I don't want to sign dirty motives. It's not fair play. We're just gonna play.
Yeah.
We have
I
4
think
witnesses.
the most I want to go at is wondering why he got so impatient with this response. But
Well, let's let him get
I don't
through
know
it.
why.
Let's let him get through it. Here we go.
Including Joseph Smith, that say that they did see an angel give them the plates. We also have witnesses concerning the translation methods.
All right. Let's suppose that's true. Are all angels? I'm just asking the question. Are all angels from the good side?
No.
Okay.
Now, by the way, look, he just looked at him like, yeah, dude, that's a Donkey Kong stomp. Like, yeah, so he saw an angel. Yeah, well, are all angels from the good side? Well, obviously no. Oh, mic drop. Walk away. This is literally
like,
what
that's
the
not a mic drop, dude.
That's literally what the Sadducees said when they approached Christ. They tried to say, you cast out demons by the power of Beelzebub. And then he just looked at him and said, okay, then by whom did your fathers cast out devils? A house divided cannot stand. Like rule number 5 of anti-Mormons is they always end up, anti-Mormon evangelicals, is they always end up either acting like atheists or Sadducees. And like quoting them verbatim. We're not just saying an attitude, tone, and tenor. We're saying they always end up quoting, like Frank Turek just quoted a Sadducee, for heaven's sake. All in the name of Christ. This is only in North American Protestant evangelicalism or anti-Mormonism can you actually get that.
I want to share one of our super chats that's very pertinent to this.
Okay.
Tristan Evans says, how would Frank react if an atheist said, the Bible isn't true because I can bring stone tablets down from a mountain with 10 commandments on them?
Ooh.
That is legitimately the exact same level of argument that he's giving. And like, to treat somebody who's clearly one of your fans this way is just so repulsive to me, man. I don't know. It bugs me so much. But let's continue. Let's see how the rest of it goes down, how it breaks down.
Do we have any other super chats here?
We do. We have a couple.
Here, why don't you read them really fast?
Sure. So G. Rourke says, guess what? Brad is even more delightful in person. It's kind of annoying.
Oh, that's
Thanks, G. Rourke.
funny.
And then when you
Appreciate
meet
it.
him with his wife, it's like this power couple. I can't even stand being around him. Just like, I gotta get out of here.
All right. Let's not let
Thanks,
it get
Kurt.
to his head. Let's not let it get to
I
his head.
know.
Next
Mary
one.
Lou Howard says, by the way, Stick of Joseph is also doing a live stream right now. You might be splitting watchers. Oh, good to know.
Okay.
I think they've been going for about a little over an hour. So hopefully theirs ends relatively soon and people can either jump across or,
That's why
if it continues for...
Cardon called in the big guns. So that's why I'm here, guys.
Yeah,
So.
or everybody can just leave them and come to watch us. That's also an option. But no.
Also true. And then Corey D. Richmond says, hey, just want to send you guys some love. When's the next docuseries similar to the Satanic Panic?
Ooh, we got some
That's a good question.
We are definitely going to be cooking with some peanut oil here soon. So it's simmering right now, but we've got some other ideas in the cooker right now. So yeah, keep going.
Those were caught up on Super Chats now.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. So back to Frank Turek and him picking on Nathan here. So the name of the video for those of you guys that just joined us is Every Mormon Needs to See This, and it is on the channel Cross-Examined Go.
But it goes kind of to a similar thing, right? Like how, right, what would they have to gain from, right, a liar? Like what evidence would you
Well,
have?
let me ask you, tell me what's true about Joseph Smith.
The deflect.
Okay.
And
more
here
than
we
one
go.
Okay.
We have left the actual substantial question about the witnesses, right?
Uh-huh.
Like this kid comes up saying, hey, you believe in the witnesses of the resurrection. Let's talk about the witnesses of the gold plates. Now, we have gotten to the point that Frank is just deflecting to Joseph Smith because he's used to stomping on Joseph Smith. I don't know if he knows the arguments against the witnesses well enough to feel like he can sufficiently stomp on this kid, you know? So I think we're just seeing him pivot to more familiar ground for him so that he can spew some anti-Mormon nonsense, which honestly, what he's about to say is some of the worst stuff I've heard about the martyrdom in a while. And it's kind of wild that he goes as far as he does, but we'll let him say it.
Also, I just have to say, I'm putting up on the screen right now the Google definition of whataboutism. We went to the Bless God conference and surrounded by a bunch of self-declared Christian polemicists and apologists, most of them very cordial and kind people. But it was very interesting listening to the nomenclature amongst apologists where they're constantly accusing each other of different logical fallacies. It's like baseball of scriptural references, small commentary, and then trying to figure out which logical fallacy the other person's using. Like that's kind of like basically how to sum up overhearing an apologetic argument in the halls of a Christian conference. And I remember one of the blonde apologists that was talking to me actually said, Mormons are the kings of whataboutisms. And I remember thinking, okay, I know what a whataboutism is, but I want to see what the Google definition is. And it says the technique or practice of responding to an accusation or difficult question by making a counter accusation or raising a different issue. So when asked, hey, you take heavily into account, for example, the testimony of the Synoptic Gospels as proof of the resurrection. How do you feel about the testimony of our three witnesses? Your three books testify the miraculous resurrection of Jesus Christ. Our three witnesses testify of the miraculous transmission of an ancient record. Like, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think about Joseph Smith? You know, it's like literally, it's the purest, most obvious and banal form of a whataboutism that can be seen in real time that I've seen in a long time. So we're gonna go back and just watch that and then let the
now I want to
finish.
underscore here. We saw this in the debate with Frank or what's his name, White, whoever Jacob debated
James White.
recently.
Yeah, James White.
Right. It's like any argument. It's like, yeah, but this guy believes that God was once a man. You know, it's like, wait a minute, we're not even talking about that.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, here we continue. Go.
Goes kind of to a similar thing, right? Like how, right, what would they have to gain from, right, a liar? Like, what evidence would you
Well,
have?
let me ask you, tell me what's true about Joseph Smith.
Okay.
Did he have more than one wife?
Yes.
Got sex. Money?
Okay, pause. Okay, pause.
Yeah.
So the criteria established at the very beginning was, hey, there's no sex, money, or power involved for the witnesses of Jesus' resurrection, right? So let's talk about the witnesses of the plates. None of them had sex, money, or power to gain from this. Now that we've pivoted across to Joseph Smith, okay, now he's caring about that criteria of sex, money, and power. This is just ridiculous to me that he's like, I don't know, why does this guy,
Well, also,
how
I'll
does
tell
this
you
guy
why.
feel good about this exchange?
No, I'll tell you why. Because his whole tone and tenor is basically saying this is drastically an immoral disqualifier. That money, sex, and power in the name of God is an immoral disqualifying factor. And I think generally most of us would agree with that. That's why he used it as a rhetorical tool. Okay, Frank, do Abraham next. Do Jacob. Do the myriad polygamists of the Old Testament. Do David. Have you ever tried to read the NIV translation, the Protestant NIV translation, their study Bible where they answer questions in the margins after you read the NIV text? You can't make it through Genesis and Exodus without 15 questions of why was there so much polygamy in the Old Testament. And then you watch the Protestant scholars try and run in circles saying like, well, God doesn't use any moral language and blah, 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 you know? And it's like, I'm sorry, every Abrahamic faith has some kind of history and interaction with polygamy. And yes, is it weird? Yes. Is it different? Yes. Is it condemned in the modern, even in Mormon doctrine? It is, unless with a very specific qualifier, raising up a righteous generation. So it's like, again, they either end up like arguing like atheists or Sadducees, and it's completely hypocritical. You can't say it is a disqualifying, like stripping a man of prophethood if he were engaged in polygamy without literally taking away the seed of Abraham.
Yep. And what he does here is just automatically presupposes that Joseph Smith was involved in polygamy just for sex, right? Completely ignores all of the accounts about him being specifically commanded by God to bring the practice back, and about the stuff we have in Jacob 2 where it talks about, hey, it will be commanded at certain times when it's to raise up seed, right? Like, doesn't engage with any of this. He just wants to dismiss Joseph Smith, so he's going to dismiss Joseph Smith.
Yeah. And what's hilarious is Frank Turek, I know, is politically very, very conservative. And I'm like, Frank, you literally just sound like a liberal Wolfsgold trying to condemn Donald Trump right now.
Mm.
Like, literally, how is this any different than like, well, did he sleep? Let me ask you about Donald Trump. Do you think he slept with Stormy Daniels and he's a rapist? Watch Frank Turek spin in circles to defend Donald Trump and then turn around and sound exactly like the leftist progressive when he's trying to condemn Joseph Smith. It's completely hypocritical, and I cringe that he's doing it in Charlie Kirk's Freedom shirt. And it's only because I knew that he had a personal relationship with Charlie Kirk, and I have such a respect for Charlie Kirk that I don't dive deeper into this connection, and I will try and maintain that later on as he tries to invoke the death of Charlie Kirk as a rhetorical anti-Mormon tool against us, which is like super enraging because I don't think Charlie Kirk would have even appreciated that, and he was not an anti-Mormon. So we'll keep going as respectfully as we can on this one.
No, he didn't really.
Did he have his own bank?
Benefit. He did.
No, he didn't. Okay, first off, Nathan, bad answer. He did not, quote, have his own bank. In the West, when currency was difficult to attain, they tried to form their own bank, but the governments weren't chartering banks because of the economic instability of the time. So not just members of our church, but members of many groups tried to form trusts, or anti-banks they were called, where through a barter or a metric system, they issued their own banknotes. Ever watch classic movies and they say, yeah, I'm going to give you a couple of banknotes? That was an actual thing. And no, it wasn't Joseph Smith's own bank, okay? He was one of the signatories and one of the founders of what's called the Kirtland Safety Society. Am I correct, Brad?
Yeah, and it was actually an anti-banking society by the time that it actually came to be. And this has to do with a ton of stuff like the financial panic of 1837 that, hey, Why bother getting into the actual details of any of this when you've got a profit to dismiss?
Yeah,
right?
did Donald Trump's steaks go bankrupt? And you're saying he's a good businessman? It's like, it's hilarious. These are all literally just social progressive arguments against Donald Trump, who is like Frank Turek's boy. So it's hilarious. They behave with zero consistency the second Mormonism is invoked. All right? So here he continues. Nathan, go.
Okay. Yeah. And
Power?
it ended up failing. The bank.
Did he have power?
Not necessarily over the.
Frank, you have power. Frank.
And it's at this point that Nathan has forgotten his own question. He's like, I don't know what's happening. What's going on? Oh no.
Exactly.
Like, where's he taking me? What? Where am I? Yeah.
Oh, that's true, buddy. Look at his face. This poor guy. Like, this went south fast. I got to tell you, over or under that Nathan knew who Frank was?
I think he knew who he was, and I think he had seen him deal like nicely with others and actually engage in good faith with other people. And so this is why he's so taken aback by how bad faith the engagement coming out of Frank right now is, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And by the way, I got to say, we give credit where credit is due on this channel. Frank Turek is ripped for a guy his age. Look at that, dude. He's looking good, man. He like weighs 10 pounds less than me and he's 10 years older. He's almost right up there with Brad in the Book of Mormon video. You know what I'm saying? Remember when you were yoked, Brad? Remember when you were yoked for doing the Book of Mormon vids?
Dude, those were fun times.
Yeah, those were good times. So anyway, here we go.
The church in general, yes.
Okay.
But really in his life, it didn't amount to, right, the kind of power. The power he gained would be similar to the power that like Paul or Peter gained.
They got
in
martyred.
The New Testament church.
They got martyred. They didn't have power.
No, you can have power and still be a martyr. What are you trying to say? Saint Stephen had no power over the early Christian church? Are you saying the Apostle Paul had no power? That Peter, crucified upside down as a martyr, had no power? What?
Yeah.
No, you just hate our martyr.
And he just wants to attack Joseph Smith. It's very
Yes.
clear by what comes down the rest of the barrel.
Okay, so he continues.
Joseph Smith also got martyred.
Martyred. What was the situation surrounding his death?
He was
This is where it
killed,
gets worse. We'll have to
in
pause a
jail.
lot here.
Yeah. Okay, so here well, actually, let's let it go through once, and then we'll react to each individual.
Okay.
What was the situation surrounding his death?
He was killed right in jail.
Why was he in jail?
He was in jail. There's a couple different allegations. A large one was kind of like the destruction of a printing press.
So he
there's
burned down a
different
printing
things.
press.
Correct.
Should he have been in jail?
If
you burn down a printing press, should you go to jail?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. No, I'm not going to interrupt. That's actually no. But while you're watching this, do you remember the week Charlie Kirk was killed? How it was just gross, and watching all of the people just try and justify the assassination of a good person over politics.
Yeah, saying that he had it coming.
Saying that, well, he was there and he's been stirring the pot. And, he's just like, literally, he sounds like every single woke scold on Twitter the week after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, with that same smug look, victim blaming innocent life that was taken, literally quoted saying as a lamb to the slaughter. So, I'm sorry, I broke my own rule and I stopped. I'm going to let him finish.
So what happened when he was killed? Was it some noble sort of cause he had, or was he guilty of burning down a printing press?
He was guilty of burning down a printing press, which under the Nauvoo legislature, the way in which it was legal. Now, am I saying that it was completely the right move to make? No.
He got into a gunfight.
Yes, he did have a gun to defend himself.
Okay, so was Jesus in a gunfight?
No.
Was Jesus pulling swords on people?
No.
Jesus went to the cross like a lamb to the slaughter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a martyr. Charlie's a martyr.
Oh, gosh.
Charlie was wanting to hear what Hunter wanted to ask him, and Hunter didn't agree with Charlie. He said people could come to the front of the line who don't agree with me. You're not a martyr if you're in prison for burning down a printing press, and then they smuggle guns into that jail and you try and blast your way out. But let me ask you this, Nathan. I appreciate you bringing this up, and it's difficult. We all have deeply felt beliefs.
Pause. Now that I've emotionally manipulated you and beat you up in front of all of these people, I'm going to reassure you that I really do care. Shut up, Frank. You don't. You lying sack of garbage. That is the grossest manipulation. I can't even look at this and think, oh, this is an honest person. Oh, this is a bad dude. I don't know what was going on in his life leading up to this point, but holy crap. This dude does not care about Nathan. This is a liar. And I am so grossed out by the way that he then freaking uses Charlie Kirk's death in order to try to say, oh, Joseph Smith wasn't really a martyr. This is nuts. This is horrible.
Yeah,
like,
do Charlie
Frank should
Kirk
be ashamed
next.
of himself.
How easily could a social progressive come out and say, what kind of martyr is wearing a bulletproof vest to a debate? You know who wasn't a martyr? Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King wasn't a martyr. But Charlie Kirk, he deserves what he got because he was wearing a bulletproof vest smuggled in with security guards. And these are the same idiots that said Frank Turek was part of his assassination because he was doing secret hand signals and other crap like that.
And just to point out what you're saying, Cardon, literally, the things that Frank Turek is saying are on that level. Saying Joseph Smith tried to blast his way out of Carthage. I've studied this very in depth. There's only like one newspaper where somebody said, oh, he was trying to break out. And then some other newspaper reprints this. And this is exactly like the people who, like you were saying, Cardon, were trying to publish that Charlie Kirk had it coming. This is exactly what Frank Turek is engaging in. When he goes out and he goes off saying, oh, well, he was blasting his way out. No. He was being held in prison on illegal charges, by the way, trumped up charges, not of anything to do with the actual printing press, but of treason so that they could keep him held in Carthage jail itself. They wanted him held in an actual place that was hostile to him. This is so aggressively not even close to what actually happened that it just makes me sad. Like, why is this guy presenting himself as some expert on Joseph Smith when all he wants to do is just dismiss him? This is disgusting. Frank Turek should be absolutely embarrassed of himself, and he should never speak about this again until he gets better educated, unless he wants to be the liar and hypocrite that it is who goes off and says things like, hey, Charlie Kirk had it coming.
Yeah. I Frank, you want to dive in here before I just start raging? Go. You were going to say something.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, this is almost, take the emotion and just the disgust out of this, but it was almost like I'm watching a magic trick. It's so amazing how he lures, Nathan into this trap where it's almost like he almost has the tone and cadence of like the abusive husband who convinces the wife why she deserved the backhand. Like, I came home from work, didn't I? And you didn't have dinner ready, didn't you? Right? And you got me mad, didn't you? Yeah.
Look what you made me do.
I just had to act out, right?
Look what you made me do. Do you think I like this?
Yeah, I don't want to tear you down, Nathan. Like, you're the one that believes this. I'm just have to be the one that has to bring you out of this. It's like, no, like we started with the Book of Mormon witnesses or the Golden Plate witnesses, and now you've brought me to this total different space of, and that's why your prophet was in a gunfight.
The other thing too,
and I'm sorry I'm getting heated on this. It just frustrates me. And because of that, I cannot extend some grace to Frank Turek, because I'm sure he's not necessarily intending to pull some of these things, these emotions out, right? He was right there when Charlie was shot, right? So like, I'm sure that conversations around martyrdom are probably triggering for him in some way, right?
Then you better sure as hell make sure that you're an expert before you take somebody else's martyr away.
That's true. And by the way, let's look up the definition of martyr.
Yeah.
Let's just look it up, since he's so intent on ripping that from Joseph Smith.
Okay, so here's definition of martyr. Here's definition whataboutism. Here's definition of martyr. A person who is killed or made to suffer because of their religious or other beliefs. A person who displays or exaggerates their discomfort or distress in order to obtain sympathy or admiration. Okay, so that's like a sarcastic martyr or somebody who's using emotional manipulation. The most common verb here is a noun, and a person who is killed or made to suffer because of their religious and or other beliefs, which is literally Joseph Smith to a T.
Yeah, because they were coming to kill him because of they loved that printing press so much, right? I mean, I don't know the details of the history, but they knew that they had a sitting duck of the
Let me
man
tell
that
you
they
some
wanted
of the
to get.
history. Let me tell you some of the history, Kurt, because it's even more ridiculous than Frank allows you to get across in this moment. You have Joseph Smith and the Saints having just survived the Utah war in Missouri. There's an extermination order forcing the Saints out. They go and they make Nauvoo. They know that the government will not protect them. When Frank is getting all, oh, well, he burned a printing press. Dude, when was the 14th Amendment passed, Frank? When did this holy freedom of press actually get assured to all people? Where's this righteous indignation for the printing press of the Saints that was burned? Oh, you don't care? Because you're just trying to dismiss a prophet. Oh, what about all of the property burnt and stolen from the Saints as they were driven out of Missouri with an extermination order, a law on the books, actually pushing a religious minority out of their freaking state? It's insane. And so the context of this puts things in where in Nauvoo, Joseph Smith is seeing stuff like Thomas Sharp's Warsaw Signal, which just the week prior to this talks about how, oh man, things are so ready to blow. We basically have a situation where the slightest provocation will send people attacking the Saints, right? Like that's literally something being written by the Warsaw Signal the week prior to this. Now, we have the freaking Nauvoo Expositor. And it crops up. And yeah, freedom of speech. Oh, this protected holy right. Shut up, dude. You're going out pretending as though inciting a riot is not a actual offense. That's not protected speech, right? There's nuance to this that if you want to blatantly ignore it, sure, you can make your case look good in a moment. But here's the deal. The Nauvoo Expositor was actually being classified by the Nauvoo High Council, by the Nauvoo City Council, as a public nuisance. They had a strict definition for what this was. It was clearly trying to get people to come and attack Nauvoo. They were comparing Joseph Smith to Nero and Caligula, which is the closest you can get to calling him literally Hitler at the time, right? And then they're saying, yeah, all of the upstanding citizens will surely do something about this, right? So they are doing everything they can to keep their hands clean while they are pushing for people to attack Nauvoo. Now, this is an absolutely just completely misconstrued setup of how Joseph Smith ended up in Carthage.
Can I just before you read the super chat, let me just simplify this for some of the people who might be watching. Frank Turek used reference of the Nauvoo Expositor as a rhetorical tool to try and have people in the audience be aghast at a violation of something that is considered sacrosanct in the modern day, which is the protection of journalism. But his historical ignorance is showing, because what he doesn't realize is that's a completely 19th century invention. That wasn't an idea that was sacrosanct in the original Constitution and the original colonies and the original states. Freedom of religion wasn't...
It is expressly why Joseph Smith was running for president, because the federal government refused to protect their First Amendment rights. It wasn't till 1868 that we actually get the 14th Amendment guaranteeing this right to every citizen. So this is an insanely hypocritical and presentist view to be pushing back on this.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is, So what I was going to say is that, yes, for the first 100 years of our country, it was a freedom of the press and freedom of journalism was a federally protected right, but not a state protected right. Okay. And it wasn't until other amendments later on and other state legislatures ratifying them that freedom of religion was then protected on the state levels. There was actually state religions in other states, and you could enforce a violation of what we now see as freedom of the press and freedom of religion, okay? So Mormon presses were regularly destroyed in towns whose city councils thought they were a nuisance. And as long as it was voted upon by the municipality, it could be declared a nuisance and destroyed, which is like, we just think that is a horrible violation of freedom of the press, but was the way things happened in the Wild, Wild West. So again, how dare you, Frank, say, but the freedom of the press, but the freedom of the press. Only when it's Joseph Smith on the city council voting to get rid of the Nauvoo expositor, but you didn't have a problem with all of the anti-Mormon cities killing Mormon children, burning Mormon homes, and burning their presses. Again, this is just like saying Charlie Kirk deserved it because he wore a bulletproof vest. Okay? You're making the arguments the social progressives make against you. So let's
it's giving into their speech is literal violence thing, right? And saying, yeah, oh, they were right about Charlie Kirk in that way, right? No, they weren't. In the same way, Joseph Smith was justified in sending the Nauvoo militia to take apart this press. And guess what? He stood trial for this actually twice before being called about it in Carthage. How do you feel about that? Being tried for the same thing multiple times. Does that sound like a great thing that the Constitution's all gung-ho about? We have Joseph Smith getting called and tried in Nauvoo. But hey, oh man, people are going to freak out and even be angry about this because he's actually being tried by a jury of his peers. Let's make sure we actually get him tried by someone who's not Mormon.
P.S. If a rap sheet is your rubric, Frank Turek, do Martin Luther King next, bruh. Like, seriously, is jail time? Like he sounds literally like a racist. Yeah.
Paul is in prison all the time.
Yeah. It's like, he sounds like a Jim Crow racist from the 1960s saying, well, you know, those black, those Negroes, those, he says he's a pastor and he was imprisoned. Well, I mean, I'm not going to say that a man deserves to die, but that Martin Luther King was a rabble rouser. You know, you can't, like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and so Joseph is not only tried for this by the Nauvoo courts that then say, hey, no, he's good. He gets tried again by a non-Mormon magistrate, or a justice of the peace, I think, who goes through and says, yeah, no, they're good. They're not inciting to riot here. And at most, Joseph should have been given a fine, right? And so when he goes down to Carthage, ultimately, actually, I think one thing that we need to pull up is an article on this that I put in the Discord, Cardon.
Oh, you put an article in the Discord. Okay, I'm pulling it up right now. Joseph
this is
Smith,
actually
the true martyr, it says. Interesting, never read this article before. Tell me about it.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
So the key thing that I want to point out about this article and where it goes with what we're discussing right now, can you pull it up on the screen?
It's on the screen. Yeah, got it right here.
Okay, awesome. So this does a very, very good job of going through, talking about the definition of a martyr, talking about the resisting of death and everything and what's going on. Frank Turek did everything in his power to make you think that Joseph Smith was unwillingly dragged down to Carthage because he had to be tried for this unholy crime of making
by a
sort
righteous justice of the peace. How dare you insinuate that a sworn judge would ever be unduly righteous towards those dark people? You know, like, I mean, seriously, this is what racist people say. Like this is literally like the reason why they fought against not Roe versus Wade, a Brown versus Board of Education. Like, this is the arguments that Jim Crow racists made against black people. These are the arguments that social progressives make against violence towards MAGA Republicans. Like, these are the attitudes, the tones, the tenors, and the rhetorical tools that are used in order to justify violence. They're literally justifying the violence against Joseph Smith. A man was killed for his sincerely held religious beliefs. It is that simple. And Frank Turek is justifying it, saying that, oh, well, all of the assassination was valid and not even a martyrdom because cops were involved. Oh, great. Oh, so there's never been a false arrest under bad pretenses of a religious leader leading a social movement that might what? Oh, yeah, emancipate the slaves? That's another thing you never talk about, Frank. What was Joseph Smith's presidential platform that got him in so much trouble? All the Christians wanted to keep the slaves. The Mormons didn't. He literally wanted to create a state to emancipate them into as part of his freaking presidential platform, and your grandparents shot him for it.
Maybe. I don't know who Frank Turek's
Do his genealogy. Do his genealogy. Do his genealogy. I guarantee you in his family tree there's people that were freaking only one step removed from in that mob or one step removed.
So here is something that I want to bring up, because he makes it appear as though Joseph Smith is being pulled down to Carthage, and that he is going because he was a fugitive from the law and he was such a bad dude. He's been tried twice, right? And said that he is not guilty either time. So we've got this on the third time when he's going back to Carthage. Near the end of this article, we have a recollection from Dan Jones that just before Joseph left for Carthage, his mother reminded him that she had seen him dragged from her many times before, and that he always told her he would return. And that she said, "What say you now, my son?" And Jones reported that Joseph replied, "My friends, nay, dearest still, my brethren, I love you. I love the city of Nauvoo too well to save my life at your expense. If I go not to them, they will come and act out the horrid Missouri scenes in Nauvoo. I may prevent it. I fear not death. My work is well nigh done. Keep the faith, and I will die for Nauvoo."
Jeez.
So, this is a dude who has the command of the Nauvoo Legion, right? He could ask the Nauvoo Legion to go and free him. And I wonder if Frank Turek thinks that he did, because there's actually a Hoffman forgery out there that says Joseph Smith commanded the Nauvoo Legion to come break him out of Carthage jail. And that's based on some anti-Mormon garbage put in by Fawn Brody in her book, right? And it was unsourced, but hey, we've got Mark Hoffman making up a source for you. It's not real. So anyone who tries to portray Joseph Smith as like getting the Nauvoo Legion to bust him out of Carthage jail is just completely wrong. I don't know what they're basing that opinion on. And they need to double check their history, because they're completely off. So Joseph Smith is going to Carthage knowing that it's a dangerous place in order to save the city of Nauvoo, because of the direct consequences of the extermination orders of Missouri against people of our faith. It's just frustrating to see it wrenched from its context so aggressively. So
I didn't realize that was a font. Mark Hoffman's forgery is based off of a lack of sourcing in No Man Knows My History.
Yeah, dude, he loved stuff like that. He would go through and like find stuff where it's like, oh, this person doesn't have a source for this, but it's this thing that they said. So if I put in this thing that like makes it so it looks like it has a source, awesome. People are going to expect that kind of a thing, right? This is,
if Mark Hoffman were not a murderous killer, I think he would be an interesting guy.
He'd be a regular on Ward Radio, huh?
No, but it's like, it's intriguing. Like, I love history, and you have to have such a historical mind to pull that off. Like, I love, it's just like if Hugo Boss didn't design the literal uniforms of the SS, his fashion would be so cool. But it just, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it just ruins it. You know what I'm saying? It just like totally ruins it. It's like, I can't wear
blow people up.
I can't wear Hugo Boss stuff. I'm sorry, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, just knowing that you designed the SS uniforms, I just can't do it, my man. And like maybe 100 years from now, you know what I'm saying? But like, I just can't do it. Mark Hoffman, it's like, bruh, if you could have just kept it to embarrassing the church. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you could have just kept it to like salamander letters and stuff, but no, you had to jump the shark. So
something that I want to point out about this is I'm not bringing all of this up to say that any of these things prove Joseph Smith is a prophet. They absolutely prove he was a martyr. That is not something that Frank Turek gets to wave his hands and say, oh, well, he was in prison for, I don't actually know why. I'm going off of the reason that got him dragged down to Carthage in triple jeopardy, when in reality, he was out on bail. They were going to have this actual trial. This trial never happened. The final trial, the triple jeopardy trial, where they had a different jury, never was able to convene. And I think at worst, based on the legal arguments that Joseph Smith and his team was putting together, they would have had to pay a fine. But apparently, this is enough to justify Frank Turek in thinking Joseph Smith deserved to die and be shot for his beliefs. And that, I'm sorry, not for his beliefs, but go out in a gunfight. And if you can call it a gunfight when you are in a upstairs jail cell with 3 of your friends who are not supposed to be there to be on trial, and you're being rushed by a mob of 200 people with muskets and pistols, people who were supposed to be there.
It's like saying Charlie Kirk was in a gunfight because his security
it's
had
almost as bad.
Yeah, it's
not
almost
quite
as bad.
Yeah. And like, dude, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous to say Joseph Smith died in a gunfight because he shot back after Hiram was shot in the face and dead on the floor. And John Taylor, who is my great-great-great-grandpa, by the way, had been shot 5 times and was rolled underneath the bed and was bleeding out. Joseph is seeing these people around him dying.
You could say you had people criticizing Charlie Kirk for having shown up in a bulletproof vest. How is this any different than saying, well, he had a bulletproof vest? Like, it's just disgusting. It's like,
dude, it is really, really bad. And so this is the kind of thing where it's like, look, if you don't know about this history, don't go gung-ho about this and go off saying Joseph Smith died trying to bust his way out of prison. That isn't even close to what happened. And when you say things like that, you're a liar.
Kurt,
that can't be supported by the evidence.
Bring us back from the edge, bro. Just bring us back from the edge.
I think this is a time to pause and reflect and think, what can we learn from Frank Turek? How can he better respond?
The religious bigotry of North American national Christian or Christian nationalism. That's what we can learn. I hate it when the social progressives are right. I hate it, but you have to give credit where credit is due. Ex-Mormon, anti-Mormons, they have one legitimate grievance, and that is bishop roulette. Not every bishop not every bishop is qualified to handle other humans as well as some bishops. Bishop roulette is real. We give credit where credit's due. That's about all the credit I'll give John DeLynn and his cohorts, okay? But we give credit where credit is due. I give credit to the social progressives where credit is due. This is the epitome of victim blaming. I hate it when their sound bites are true. But this is literally the epitome of victim blaming. This is what the Jim Crow racists did. This is what the every person trying to justify violence against people with sincerely held religious beliefs. This is the epitome of victim blaming and religious bigotry, and it's done by a white Christian who's a nationalist. And I hate it when they make this stupid argument about white Christian nationalism. But what am I supposed to think when I just had to watch a 5-minute video titled "Every Mormon Should See This," in which Frank Turek literally tries to lecture a young man who looks up to him as to why Joseph Smith, his beloved prophet, is not a martyr, but actually deserved to die, was righteously arrested, and you are incorrect and stupid for believing in him. That's the epitome of the religious bigotry of white Christian nationalism, and the reason why all the social progressives run away from Christianity and try and defend Islam, no matter how crazy radical Islam gets. Why? Because it's not that thing over there, and it's half the reason why Charlie Kirk got so much hatred. Because in his name, with his freedom shirt on, guys like Frank Turek are just spewing religious bigotry, justifying murder.
Yeah, man. It really just disappoints me. And so I want to try to find a way to, like, I know I've been heated on this because, I don't know, I've studied this enough to just be very frustrated by those who haven't studied it and then come out and say the level of garbage we just witnessed, right? But I do want to try to dial things back. I think, Kurt, you're on the right track of, hey, what can we learn from this? And what can we do? Like, because I don't want to try to make an enemy out of Frank Turek over this interaction, right?
It'd be great to get him on the show,
think,
right?
Sure, yeah. Maybe we get him on the show to talk about the actual martyrdom of Joseph Smith sometime, right? I don't know if he seems very interested in that conversation, but hey, maybe he'll surprise me, right? I don't know what got him worked up to the point that he behaved the way he did with this. I do think it probably has something to do with him being present for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That is a horrific thing to go through.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law was there. He was on the front row. He saw it happen, and like it. This is the kind of thing that I think is going to mess with people, right? And so I want to extend a little bit of grace in that way, that like, hey, if this is a difficult thing for you to be grappling with, like, let's find a better way to approach it. But let's not do this in a way that, like Cardon is saying, you are starting to go out and justify violence towards other people because you disagree with them ideologically, right? That ideological disagreement is what led to what happened with Charlie. And we should not be going about this in a way that we add to more of that.
Yeah.
But also,
and I'm sure that Frank feels like, I mean, he has a good grasp on the Bible as he sees it, or his doctrine or whatever, but sort of just a good measure of saying, you know, I don't know much about that history. Thanks for bringing that up, Nathan. But yeah, I'm not sure what to tell you there. But anyways, next question.
And just engage with the guy on the witnesses, right?
Yeah,
like, don't pivot into, oh, let's see how we can throw Joseph Smith under the bus as much as humanly possible, because that's familiar territory for me. That's a coward's move.
Yeah, but he stays in control when he does it, right? And that's the
exactly,
hope. And that's
yeah.
where I encourage people, like, are you familiar with the concept of Gelman's amnesia, where you read one thing in the newspaper that you're an expert in and you realize it's garbage, and then you read the next article down and and then you're like, wow, that's fascinating. I didn't realize that was a thing, right? So anytime it's going to be easy to see arguments that maybe Frank Turek takes down an atheist or this or that. Like, remember that he may be doing these same things against the atheist, but because we're on his side on that argument, we're kind of like, yeah, amen, brother. But no, like, you have to realize that the tactic that he's taking that isn't healthy.
And we should not do that same kind of tactic. We should watch for where we are ever falling into that same kind of trap and avoid it. Should I catch us up on some super chats real quick?
I've never released a video. Like, to me, this is such an indictment on North American Protestant evangelicalism, because they uploaded this voluntarily, guys. Like, think about that. He has almost 1 million subscribers. And there's no overwhelming response in the comments saying, did you just justify, like, assassin? Like, I disagree with a lot of Trinitarian formulations. When there was the shooting in that Trinitarian church in Virginia, nope, not going to justify it. Not going to think any part of it's good. You're not going to see a Mormon podcaster out there, doing what Mark Driscoll did 2 days after the shooting in Grand Blanc, Michigan, releasing a book on why Mormons aren't Christian. Like, literally, this is insanity that you can go through this comment section and all you hear is, God bless you, Frank, for dealing so kindly with that mistaken Mormon boy. Oh, wait. You mean, like, literally mocking him and justifying the murder of his prophet? Like, whoa.
And then dialing it back immediately to say, and maybe there's some sincerity in him dialing it back. Maybe there actually is. Maybe he realized, man, I'm going really hard on this kid.
Then
And
don't
Just want to
upload
move on to
it.
the next question.
Then don't upload it. It's one
Actually,
thing.
Cardon, that's a good point.
Like, that's what I'm saying is it's like there's a million and one ways. Like, for example, I'm live right now. If I have a hot take and I'm heated, sorry, it's in cyberspace. The internet never forgets because it was live. But if I'm going to take this, re-edit it, and then make a clip that I put on my clips channel of me saying something wildly bigoted, what does that say about me? And my friend group that doesn't say, bro, you literally just said that, like, the killing of people for sincerely held religious or political beliefs is okay. Like, you want to dial that back, bro?
Yeah, as long as we disagree with them enough, right? And we can find a justification for his death, right? That shouldn't be doing it.
These are the people
a couple
that
of super chats.
Okay, we'll get to the super chats, but like, if you ever wonder why Hitler was able to do what he did in Germany with so many people, just look at Frank Turek and the barking seals in the comments, and you will know exactly why things like Grand Blanc, Michigan, the Holocaust, religious violence at all happens. Okay, it doesn't come out of nowhere. There's people that actually think it's a good thing if done to certain people.
And one thing I do want to say, Cardon, is I think that tribalistic impulse is probably only stoked if we let this turn into, this one moment that Frank Turek has here brands him as an enemy, right? I don't think we should be playing that.
But see, but we're not, because the difference in doctrine between North American evangelicalism, especially of the Calvinist bent, and I don't think he's reformed. In fact, I think he's spoken out against Calvinism. But the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is that we are all children of a loving God. And he's trying to get as many of us into heaven as possible. And that theosis that they mock us for literally says, just as C.S. Lewis does, that you've never met a normal human, for we are all gods in embryo. What Mormon doctrine does is elevate every single person you deal with to the status of fellow future deity through spiritual progression. So when I see Frank Turek doing this, I'm wildly disappointed in a brother. I want him to repent, and I don't think that he's just going to hell for wrong think on the Trinity. But their doctrine doesn't give us that same luxury, that same protection. We are the heretics. And what do you do to heretics according to them? And when you do that thing that they did to my ancestors at the Salem witch trials, that they did to members of our church in Grand Blanc, it's justified. Why? Because demons, because heresy, because biblical this, biblical that. We don't have that in our doctrine. We literally have codified by Joseph Smith that we allow man to worship how, where, and what he may, and we reserve the right to worship the Almighty God, and we give all other men the right to worship how, where, and what they may. I'm totally butchering the 14th article of faith. All right, or the 4th article of faith.
12th.
Yeah, or the 12th. Sorry.
No, say 18th. That one's the 18th.
Yeah, it was the 18th.
Yeah.
But like, do you see, like, this is why North America needs Mormonism so badly, to wash away the tribalism of Christianity. Jesus Christ was the anti-tribalist. He literally said, you can be of the wrong ethnicity, of the wrong tribe, and the wrong religion. But if you're the Samaritan that takes care of the man who was abused by thieves on the road, you're the one that is a Christian. We're orthopraxy people, not orthodoxy people. So, like, I don't know, man. This is just, this to me is why I can't condemn Kwaku when he goes full-blown lib, because it's like, I'm sorry, if the opposite end of the spectrum, there's Frank Turek and Mark Driscoll waiting for us. We survived 20 years of woke and 20 years of neoliberalism without getting shot, and then justified afterwards.
Oh, by the way, it was the 11th article of faith. We always next. Should I catch us up on some super chats real quick?
And then we got to let Frank talk. He's so polite. Frank, it's a jungle in here. You just need to butt in.
Me? You mean Kurt? No,
I'm sorry, Frank Turek. Kurt Frank.
It was like, I thought we were going back to the clip or something. But yeah,
dude,
no,
for real.
No,
Yeah,
I'm butting in, but this is, I don't know. Maybe, I'll do my best. So.
Okay, cool.
So G. Rourke says they hate us because we threaten their money and power. I think that is definitely part of it. Mad the Sane says, so the apostles weren't martyrs because they were in jail for breaking the laws? Got it. Doesn't matter that the laws they broke were about lost money.
Jeez,
interesting.
So true.
Yep.
Good point, Mad the Sane.
Off Pioneer Games says Big Joe firing back during the martyrdom is the best justification I've seen for a Joseph Smith Fortnite skin. Oh man.
Yeah, that one you can laugh at. That's funny.
That one is funny. G. Rourke says people faulted Joseph for destroying the press, but he was shown what would happen if he didn't destroy it. The leadership of Nauvoo was within their rights to destroy the press, and our press was destroyed under the same pretense.
Yeah. Good job, Rourke.
Yeah, I really appreciate that super chat because you're totally right. Yeah, people faulted Joseph for destroying the press, but these were also people looking for any excuse under the sun to attack the guy.
Yeah.
It really is like when you actually study the history of this, you will recognize just how desperately bad Frank Turek's version of events actually is. And I don't know. Is it too fiery of me to say he has no idea what he's talking about in this when he is directly saying things that are factually false, that like Joseph Smith was trying to blast his way out of Carthage jail?
Well, it's also not biblical. Are you saying Elijah fighting back the priests disqualified him as a prophet? Like he literally just
how did Peter react when they came to take away Jesus, when he was trying to protect his friends? He cut off the ear of Malchus, right? And another interesting thing about the article that
Jesus
I shared with you,
flipped
Cardon,
tables. Are you literally going to say, well, Jesus, was he a martyr? He was in the temple flipping tables. And you can't piss off those Romans. He was flipping tables. Now say it with a southern accent and then say it's
in the
black
very
people.
week that he was it's in the very week that he was
Well,
crucified.
that Martin Luther King, he was flipping tables down in Selma, Georgia. And when you're flipping tables the week before the municipal police come after you, can you really claim to be a martyr? Like, seriously. Like, do Martin Luther King next, bruh. It's gross. Keep going.
So now quadriplegic, is
Okay.
that, am I saying that right? It says Frank was too controlling of the conversation to allow somebody to set the record straight. It's true.
Okay.
And
Well,
he
and that's
pivoted
just-
it into, oh, go ahead.
That's just shtick, right? But the whole premise and context of that of him being at the front of this auditorium and speaking, and he assumes control of it, right, and knows that he can immediately take a question about witnesses to a place of a gunfight in destroying printing presses and things like that, right? And and I think that's why he is able to create these clips and get attention online and grows audience, regardless of whether these clips are true or not.
Yeah, and also some of that might just come with the nature of just I've been in these events where there's 15 people in line.
Yeah.
And you only have 15 minutes. And it's like, bro, you got to be able to say your question in 10 seconds. So it's like, I don't slight him for wanting to move a conversation along. We've all been there. Okay. And we all have to control the conversation, or else some person is just going to monologue for 15 minutes at you and under the guise of asking a question.
Yeah.
And it just kind of comes with the territory. So I don't slight him for that kind of thing. I slight him for literally, unironically, justifying murder of a person for his sincerely held religious beliefs, and then uploading it, and then not having a friend group sane enough to say, you might want to dial that back. That's what I slight him for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, this is the kind of thing where it's like the Are Mormons Racist clip that what's his name?
Joe Heschmeyer and Matt
did
Fradd.
with Joe Heschmeyer, right?
Yeah, Heschmeyer.
Where sure, maybe in the full interview, you have Joe Heschmeyer mentioning things like, maybe the God Makers isn't the best source, right? He says something like that during their main full discussion. But in that clip that Matt Fradd all too eagerly posted on his X channel, it's going through and says, hey, whoa, here's all of this stuff from what is it called? From the God Makers. Not once in that little clip does it give that content warning in any way. It goes through and portrays Mormons as currently racist. It's ridiculous stuff. And I think maybe this is also a factor of people just needing to have a little bit more awareness of how their image is being used on social media, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know if he would be, if he would feel good about seeing this clip being one that got highlighted or not, right? I wonder about that personally.
Like with Frank would feel that way, or Nathan?
Yeah, with Frank Turek. Would he feel good about this clip going out? Or, I don't know.
I mean, I feel like he walked away feeling like I set him straight. I'm on to the next one, right? But it's
maybe.
Again, you don't want to read his mind, but I don't know. Like, what do you say? Like, what do you do with this dynamic? Because this continues to happen, right? Whether it's Mike Winger or Frank or whomever, like, obviously it feeds for good live stream material, and it gives us something to talk about and defend and help others think through.
But like Thomas Jacob Sanford followed these guys on social media.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure mental illness was 99% of that problem. And I'm not saying, that these people are responsible. The Bible teaches us that the father is not, or the son is not guilty of the sins of the father. We don't believe in corporate or collective punishment. Okay? But you have to take a step back and say, Mormons aren't out there saying this is okay. What about North American Protestant evangelicalism makes it kind of just okay as long as they're Mormons? Like, what? And you can't just unpaint this picture. He said it, and he didn't just say it in a moment of passion and then say, I went really far there. I'm sorry. It's been a rough year. You know what I'm saying? Bad joke. Let's not upload that one. No, it got uploaded. And then, like trained barking seals, look, let's just randomly go into the
as you're pulling up the comments on his video, two more super chats. Professor Chimp One says, "Is Jesus smashing cash tables a false equivalence?" And G Rourke says, "FYI, this tangent is much more interesting than the original video."
Oh, dang it! Like, that's a good thing, I guess. But also,
I mean, I don't want to be spending our time, like Kurt, you mentioned this possibly being good for the algorithm, right? Yeah. I don't want to be wasting our time debunking horrible, horrific arguments that are still somehow being thrown out by people like Frank here, right? Like, I don't want to be wasting our time doing that. I would much rather be engaging in good faith dialogue with people and talking about what we actually believe and not having to debunk garbage like this.
Yeah, do you know what makes really good podcasting material? Debunking stupid stuff the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives say. You know what makes really great podcasting material? When Kwaku does something funny. Conspiracy theories about Tartaria. Oh, did Hagoth make it to Ecuador? Look at these runes on this rock. That's good podcasting material. Not wondering, does North American white Christian nationalism think that the murder of Mormons is okay because we're kind of just heretics anyway? Like, am I unsafe at church because I live in the shadow of John MacArthur and he kind of just like says the exact same thing that Frank Turek does, and none of them seem to have a problem with the violent rhetoric and the stochastic terminologies that are being used around us, literally in the shadow of an actual church shooting? Like, am I the only one here? No, that's not good live stream material.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. We have another PAH13W says descendants of the mob continue justifying murder.
Oh, dude, I got to tell you,
So
I'm sorry, but I want to start normalizing doing their genealogy. Like, let's do that. No, seriously? Seriously. I saw this talk by a rabbi once where he literally just said, has Germany ever actually paid the price for the Holocaust? Like, has there really ever actually been... I mean, half of our paintings and half of our gold are still in Swiss banks, and they're collecting interest on it. There's still less Jews in the world now in 2026 than there was in 1939. We're going to hit 2039, 100 years later, and still not have replaced through birth all the Jews that were killed in the Holocaust. The Holocaust is still a net financial, personal, social, and population loss of Jews in the world. And did Germany ever actually pay a price for their state-sponsored extermination? And he just went over the data, and it was a rabbi, so of course, you know, he's pro-Jew, let's hope, okay. And you know, he makes the argument, did they actually pay a price or not, you know? Well, dude, I look at North American Christianity, and I'm like, okay, well, who are these people? The Frank Tureks, the Mike Wingers, the Mark Driscolls, the people that just think it's okay to use this rhetoric of Mormons are demonic, and if you're biblical, you will fight this at all costs. You know, and you're justified in cruelty.
At least in Germany, like you grab a random German on the street and he's not going to be anti-Semitic, right? So it's like,
but his
whether
grandpa
they paid
was
the price or not, but there is that worry that have they really purged themselves of the hatred towards our religion?
Well, and then I just think, okay, well, let's do these guys' genealogy, because you know what's crazy? Don Bradley, he literally met a guy whose grandpa knew Brigham Young. We forget how close these people don't realize, but the last Civil War veteran died in 1964. The year my house was built was the year the last Civil War veteran died. Okay?
You might want to get your plumbing checked.
Was it? Yeah, exactly. Was in 1964, and it was actually the septic line, still made out of clay, had some tree roots in it, and it was only like 3 weeks ago, you know? So trust me, that does happen. Actually, Hayden Carroll was in the shower when it plugged up, and I was asleep still because he wakes up early to take a shower, so he had to call me on my cell phone really fast to tell me that my bathroom was flooding. It was totally hilarious. So it's just, you know, it's a moment we had together. But anyway, I'm just saying that, like, we don't realize how close we are. Holy crap. B.H. Roberts had to dress like a homeless man in order to go and take 2 bodies of elders after the Elderberry massacre in Tennessee.
Such a wild story.
Only 100 years ago. Like, Russell M. Nelson was alive when that happened. He was born. He was only like 1 or 2. So it's like, dude, we're literally only 2 or 3 generations away, 3 or 4 more likely, of people that thought it was okay, the Mormon extermination order. So I'm like, hot damn, bro. If you're a German, you better not be trying to justify expulsion of Jews from anywhere in Europe anytime soon under any kind of pretense of immigration, or else you're starting to sound like your Nazi great-grandpa. And I'm sorry, North American Protestant anti-Mormon evangelicals, you better not be trying to justify anything against members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, okay? Or you start sounding like your freaking domestic terrorist great-grandpa, okay? So I don't know. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
I think this is what you need to do, Cardon, or whether it's you or somebody else, is that we need a place, whether it's you know, a formal summit that we have, or just a gathering place where we can invite the general Christian population to come and not talk about us, but talk with us. Now, I'm the biggest Pastor Jeff Homer on the internet. He's one of my closest friends. I admit it. Yeah, I love the guy, and he gets a lot of grief, but at least he's talking to us. And you can do the Frank Turek thing and read his mind and be like, oh no, but he's secretly, you know, converting us. Well, I've been to his church, and not one person there came up to me and said, I'm here because I've watched Pastor Jeff's videos. So this is a tactic that I think we need to create platforms to say, at least come here. If you want to understand us best and you're willing to talk to us and not about us, let's do this. Right?
Dude, you know, I'm going to do that, bro.
Do it.
I'm actually going to have an event where we just literally invite nothing but, I mean, actually, we should be able to invite laymen. You know, if they want to buy a ticket, they should be able to watch. But we'll literally watch Anti-Mormons. Josh Benson would do it. He's
the
actually
only way that
yes.
Frank is going to start to listen is when people next to him in the pews say, "Hey, whoa, wait a minute. What are you talking about, man? I saw that clip. Like, you got to take that down. That's terrible." Or, you know, it's going to come from his contemporaries rather than, you know, another student that stands behind a mic so nervous he can barely, you know, put a sentence together.
We'll put that one together after the show. By the way, should I let Hayden Carroll into the Zoom?
I heard my name. I was summoned.
Whoa. And we've got his super chat ready for him.
Is it really a Ward Radio episode?
Do you want to read it yourself?
Read your own super chat. Read your own super chat, Hayden.
This is true. That flood was the scariest thing of my life. I'm telling you, I don't know. I just tuned in, by the way. I didn't even hear how you guys were talking about that. But the water was so high. Anyway, I'm glad you figured that out. I had to call Cardon. He was still asleep on a Sunday morning. It was great.
Yeah.
He gets shots every day from whatever, you know, virus he caught.
By the way, if you haven't seen Hayden Carroll in Just a Towel, you haven't lived.
Oh, dear. Oh, no.
For the right amount of super chat. We can
Oh, my gosh. Speaking of super chats, G. Rourke had another. He said, here in Northwest Arkansas is the first time I experienced being hated because of the Mormon War in Mountain Meadows. Harley Pratt was murdered out here, and the descendants remember.
Yes. Well, and here's the interesting thing, too, is members of the church, I am not at all justifying any kind of violence towards the innocent. And there was violence towards the innocent in the Mountain Meadows massacre. However, the pretext of it is always skipped over by the anti-Mormons. Just like Frank Turek says, oh, but the printing press. Oh, yeah. Did you mention ours that was burnt? People always want to say, oh, but the Mountain Meadows massacre. Oh, did you mention that a beloved founding father of our faith had just been killed by and there was Missouri Wildcats was the name of the gang that was supposedly claiming to be in that wagon train. And so you had a bunch of people that literally were in fear of what they thought was potential existential violence against them. And they behaved in the absolute worst way possible, which is part of the reason why half the wars Americans have been engaged in for the past 50 years have been so questionable in the eyes of so much of the public. Preemptive striking, okay? And so there was lots of people back then, after you interview them, that viewed the Mountain Meadows massacre as a preemptive strike against anti-Mormon violence, which is why it goes down in history as morally reprehensible. Because that's a very, very, very hard thing to justify, especially when innocents are involved, okay? So, again, get to know your effing history. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just, like, rape and murder people, thousands, okay, and then turn around and, you know, when they defend themselves, you say, oh, this is crazy, they're unhinged. Or when worse, you know, something happens to you that's not even remotely proportional, say, holy crap, they're unhinged. Like, that's not expertise. That's not historical awareness. Okay. That's just bigotry. It's trafficking in human misery, not alleviating it. And that's, what is that? Anti-Mormon rule number 6 is they always traffic in human misery. They never alleviate it.
But didn't you hear James White? It's all predetermined. God wanted those things to happen, Cardon. So shame on you for fighting against it.
Yeah, dude, that is a terrifying theology. Sounds an awful lot like Satan's plan, you know? There's no meaning to your choices because, hey, you don't have free will. Everything's been predestined.
Well, and also, like, we mock that. I don't like it when people try and say, like, you know, oh, Tim Ballard this. Well, it's all because of Mormon theology. You know, they're a big fat patriarchy where anything goes if you're male. You know, like, so I don't want to turn around and just be like, well, Frank Turret's idea. But you do have to look at what, like.
Oh, I'm talking about James White. I'm talking about the stuff
yeah, but I'm talking about
explicitly said in the what Hayden was just referencing.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
But we can't conflate those worlds all the time, right?
Agreed. Yeah. I don't think that they're necessarily on the same boat.
But Frank Turek should be a Calvinist if he wants to be consistent. But that's a whole other conversation.
Okay. So anyway, let's finally we're going back. We said we weren't going to pause during the Frank Turek thing, but we're just
But there's still more?
no. Well, there's only a tiny bit more. We're gonna play this last minute now. If you guys have any details you forgot, we're gonna go over them. Okay, but here we go. For those of you that have just jumped in, because we have several hundred people that have also just joined the live stream, we are analyzing religious bigot. I'm sorry, charismatic pastor Frank Turek, the one in the freedom shirt, speaking with a young man named Nathan in a video titled "Every Mormon Needs This." In which
Cardon, have you had any contact with Frank Turek's team?
I have. I better be careful how I speak right now, and I'm going to look and just really quickly search. I've emailed them myriad times.
Okay, I know they responded with Jacob maybe about a year ago, but they haven't responded since. I'm pretty sure.
And Luke reached out to him, Luke Hansen. Yeah. So he's trying to reach out to him as well.
I know I've reached out. Luke has reached out. Other people have, and the vast majority of us have come back with the same answer: Stonewall.
It's like, yeah, we're really busy. We'll see if we can.
Exactly.
We're really busy and just taking dumps on your faith publicly and with the worst historical accuracy you've ever seen. But yeah, don't worry about correcting us.
And with the Charlie Kirk shirt on, we're making arguments just like the people that say Charlie Kirk wasn't a martyr because he had a bulletproof vest on. We're saying Joseph Smith wasn't a martyr because he had a gun. That's literally what they're up to. So anyway, we're just going to finish this really fast. Holler pause.
I do wonder, because Joseph did shoot back after Hiram was shot and after John Taylor was shot and Willard Richards was still in the room.
He was defending his friends.
Exactly, yeah. But does Hiram Smith count as a martyr because he was killed without having shot anybody?
Good point.
Because, hey, if
absolutely.
that's... And here's the other thing. The definition of martyr does not preclude anyone fighting. There are warrior martyrs in the wider Christian tradition. This is something that people only bring up so that they can try to dunk on Joseph Smith and dismiss him. This is not the way that the word martyr is used. Go ahead,
it's totally gatekeeping. I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's just another way that we can say that Joseph Smith was a fraud or whatever. It means nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here we go from the very beginning. Hayden, you're going to have to help Frank speak up. So tell him if he wants
Frank
to
or
say
Kurt?
I'm sorry, I keep calling...
You can call me Frank Kirkham if you like.
Frank Kirkham. That's twice. I am so sorry, Kurt. I am such an I'm a fraud. I'm the fraud
I'll just call you Ellis.
Literally, Kurt, you just have to tell Cardon to shut up, and then that's typically how it works.
Okay, all right. Yeah. I'm just kind of learning the ropes here, you know.
Here we
Money?
go.
No, he didn't really.
Did he have his own bank?
Benefit. He did.
Okay.
Yeah. And
power?
It ended up failing. The bank.
Did he have power?
Not necessarily over the church in general. Yes.
Okay.
But really in his life.
Can I make a comment? Let me make a comment.
Yes.
Just really quick. We don't have to talk about this. I hate it when people say the original apostles had nothing to gain. It's like, you don't think speaking for God was anything to gain? Like, let's say hypothetically they were just faking it. Speaking for God and having people think that you speak for God, that's the most power you could have, is literally speaking for God. So
it's
anyway,
power pure and so large, there's a commandment dedicated to not abusing it. Thou shalt not abuse the name of God, also known as take it in vain.
Yes. So to say that there's no power to be gained in any prophets, that's absurd.
Okay, somebody else is going to say something. Who was it?
Well, the thing that I wanted to mention with this, you guys were just talking about what? Sorry, I coughed and lost track.
Oh, like how there's nothing to gain. The apostles had nothing to gain from power speaking for God.
I will say that when it comes to that, I think that we need to be careful that we don't take on the world's definition of power, right? Because maybe you see James and John kind of getting in trouble for this, where they use the world's definition of power, being like, hey, which one of us is sitting at your right hand, right? And like, Jesus is like, guys, you don't get it. This, like, he who's greatest among you will be your servant, right? I think that there is some argument about this in which, hey, yeah, ecclesiastical power, true Christian power, is always associated with service. And so I do understand where people are coming from when they say, hey, yeah, there's not something to gain here in the worldly sense, right?
Yeah, but we're also
They
not
are-
going out there in front of Biola University and a Christian university saying, you know, we believe the Bible to be the word of God as long as it's translated correctly, and you're kind of stupid for believing in 1st and 2nd Peter, because A, they're probably forged, and B, like, was Peter really a martyr? Like, I mean, was he really a martyr? Like, he was there when Jesus was flipping tables, didn't stop him. He took out a sword and slashed people's ears. Like, he kind of deserved it, right? You know, so like, let's not be giving books religiosity here of, you know, people that kind of like, you know, like nudge, nudge.
Peter did get a gentle rebuke for cutting off the ear, right?
No, but I'm just drawing a parallel here to show how literally disgusting that would be.
Yeah.
You know, it's just literally disgusting and reprehensible, but like the lack of self-awareness of Frank Turek and his team, and frankly all of North American evangelical Christian anti-Mormonism, is like just it's befuddling. Okay, so anyway, we go back, we're gonna finish playing Holler Stop If I Need to Stop. Frank Turek, go.
Amount to,
I meant Kurt Fraenick, go.
right, the kind of power, the power he gained would be similar to the power that like Paul or Peter gained.
They got
in the
martyred.
New Testament church.
They got martyred. They didn't have power.
Joseph Smith also got martyred.
Martyred. What was the situation surrounding his death?
His death, he was killed right in jail.
Why was he in jail?
He was in jail. There's a couple different allegations. A large one was kind of like the destruction of a printing press.
So he
there's
burned down a
different
printing
things.
press.
So reductionist, it's painful.
That's
but okay.
also, I just want to point out that he did not personally go out and burn down a printing press. The Nauvoo City Council looked at what was being printed by that printing press and determined that it was a public nuisance that was determined to get people attacking
which
Nauvoo.
was legal and commonplace at the time before legislation we hold sacrosanct now was normalized.
And when they took out the printing press, they did so in an orderly fashion. And I will push for this again. I think at most, if Joseph Smith was found guilty in any way of the charge that he was being charged for, then he should have paid a fine to reintroduce the printing press, right? Like to make up for the property. This was not the kind of thing that requires a death sentence or even comes close to justifying a death sentence.
Hey, by the way, do you know who else was legally charged by religious men who were justified biblically and who served prison time before being killed by the state?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, Jesus Christ. My ancestors in the Salem witch trials.
Okay.
Literally, there wasn't a person killed in Salem that didn't fill Frank Turek's criteria for righteous murder. Think about that. This is the level we're talking about here, guys. This is why the Salem witch trials happened. Because guys like Frank Turek have rubrics like he just spouted, and nobody stops them, except for us, frankly, the potential victims. Like, this is crazy. And it's all done with a freedom shirt on. If you ever wonder why the liberal half of America is so dubious and vehemently against white Christian nationalism, there's your answer. You just heard justification for the Salem witch trials, rhetorical justification for religious violence coming out of a guy with a freedom shirt on. How am I supposed to defend that?
Yeah, and it is interesting that a lot of this hatred is getting folded into the conservative American politics, which you're talking about, right? But you see this with all your discussions about the Daily Wire, right? And then, because there was one moment as we're talking where I'm like, well, I mean, I don't think we should maybe compare Frank to Mark Driscoll. Then I'm like, oh wait, Mark Driscoll was on Charlie Kirk's program, like, subbing in for him days after. So they're all in the same ecosphere, and they're getting folded right into the conservative politics that the vast majority of Latter-day Saints are calling home.
And the worst part is I loved Charlie Kirk. I think he was a brave and phenomenal individual. Sure, he might have had his flaws. They are 0.00001% of the conversation I ever have about him. I think it was an amazing man. And guess what? I own this exact same shirt that Frank Turek's wearing. It's been on me while I've been on this program, and I think this is a gross misrepresentation of who Charlie Kirk is. Charlie Kirk was not a religious bigot. He said within an hour of being martyred, assassinated, I got to tell you, I think the guy could have been president. He was so popular and so persuasive. So even, right off the bat, Mormon governor says this was an assassination. Mormons have no problems calling a spade a spade. That this was an assassination is literally come on, who's the beta male governor you guys got over there? What's his name? Skinny dude?
Spencer Cox.
Spencer Cox, yeah. Even Spencer Cox had the stones to call a spade and walk out. By the way, it was great seeing Spencer Cox be an alpha male for like 4 days straight. It was like really refreshing, guys. Okay. So I got well, you guys are all laughing. Hey, look, I live in Los Angeles. But I gotta tell you, like, I think Frank Turek's representation is anathema to how Charlie Kirk would have handled the situation. He literally said, we're going to have fun today, and I'm not Mormon. I don't necessarily agree with your doctrine, but let me tell you, I love that you guys have more babies than you can afford, faster than you think that you should have them. You guys work hard, going to bat for your sincerely held religious and political beliefs, and basically had a very great, fun little interfaith dialogue. He was an orthopraxy over orthodoxy and a, true ecumenical guy. Don't put his shirt on and then spout the same religious bigoted justification of religiously fueled biblical violence against innocent people that all of the Puritans in the Salem witch trials were quoting with Charlie Kirk's shirt on. It is disgusting, not just on a moral level, but like I love Charlie Kirk too much to permit that to be done in his shirt. Now, it's only because I know he had such a close relationship with him, and it is still within a year of that happening, and trauma does crazy things to people's minds that I don't go further on this. But it's like, that bothers me.
That's the thing that I want to bring up is maybe he was headed the martyr route in his head before we got there. And so he let that influence the way that he treated this.
Sure.
We have another super chat. Mr. Flynn 510 says certain strains of evangelical Protestantism try to frame any self-defense as sin, but especially when we LDS do it.
Yeah. Sure.
That's very true. Which I don't get. I get that there is a strain of Christian nonviolence, right? And I even think that we should be very nonviolent in the vast majority of situations. But it seems to me like God has commanded times that we are to stand up for ourselves as well.
Okay. Well, we'll finish this. We'll debunk it, and then we'll talk nonviolence. Why Brad is wrong, and all Mormons need to carry around a pepper box. No,
no, that's what I was talking about.
All right, so here we go. Let him finish up.
Correct.
Should he have been in jail?
No, he factually shouldn't
Burn
have
down
been.
a printing press. Should you go to jail?
He was actually being illegally held in prison on trumped up charges of treason, specifically so they could get him in a position where they could murder him as they did.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Look it up. Look it up. Like there are plenty of historians that share that opinion.
Okay.
Oh, what happened when he was killed?
By the way, you'll notice he's like, when he was killed. Oh, is that just how we talk about Charlie Kirk, Frank? Because he had a bulletproof vest on. Huh. Interesting.
Was it some noble sort of cause he had, or was he guilty of burning down a printing press?
Literally?
Yes, it was a noble cause. Let's pause. The reason that the printing press was burned down was to protect the city of Nauvoo. The reason that Joseph Smith went to Carthage was to protect the city of Nauvoo. The reason he shot back at all was to protect his friends who were in the jail cell with him, who were not being held on trial with him. They were there to help in his defense. So, everything that he said was wrong.
Yeah, and also just to show how disgusting it is for the 200 new people that have just showed up in the live stream, think how gross it would be to say like, well, was Charlie Kirk innocent? He did show up with a bulletproof vest. Who wears a bulletproof vest that's a martyr? Like, it's literally just gross. It's just absolutely gross.
He was guilty of burning down a printing press, which under the Nauvoo legislature, the way in which it was legal. Now, am I saying that it was completely the right move to make? No.
He got into a gunfight.
Pause. I would actually almost argue yes. This is like probably my biggest hot take in all of church history, but I think that they didn't do anything wrong in burning down the printing press. I think that it, like we established earlier in the stream, because of the way that we didn't have the 14th Amendment guaranteeing First Amendment rights to everybody and the way that things were working in the Wild West, they had every legal justification to do it. And hey, if it turned out that a court wanted to finally say, hey, you got to stop burning down printing presses, great. Now, let's keep that standard and stop burning down the printing presses of the Latter-day Saints, and let's pay the fine to replace the printing press, right? This is not the kind of thing that justifies the murder of Joseph Smith.
Yeah.
I think this is a classic case of presentism, right? This is taking our moral framework and imprinting it on people who lived 200 years ago. I totally agree with you, Brad.
Cool. We continue.
Yes, he did have a gun to defend himself.
Okay, so was Jesus in a gunfight?
No.
Was Jesus pulling swords on people?
It'd be a lot
so
cooler if he
dumb.
was, right? I'm just kidding. But honestly, look, this is the craziest thing. Like, you're comparing completely different situations. And this is something that's very fascinating about that article that I shared with you, Cardon. Jesus was in a different situation. You do have an instance where Jesus has people coming for him and he resists by leaving. He escapes, right? You have this situation where he goes. He gets out of there. We have a situation where Joseph Smith was actually sentenced to death. And let me see if I can find it right in here. There is... Okay. Here, let me just read from this article. It starts with nevertheless. Nevertheless, we do have some indications from another period of church history that may speak to this issue, which is if Joseph Smith had actually been condemned to die, as Peter was when he was crucified upside down, or as Christ was when he was crucified, right? So in November of 1838, Joseph and Hiram were sentenced to be shot by a quasi-military court-martial. An examination of the records of that period reveals no effort on the part of either man to violently resist their fate, either personally or by rallying their supporters. Joseph explained, "As far as I was concerned, I felt perfectly calm and resigned to the will of my heavenly Father. And notwithstanding that every avenue of escape seems to be entirely closed and death stared me in the face, and that my destruction was determined upon as far as man was concerned, yet from my first entrance into the camp, I felt an assurance that I, with my brethren and our families, should be consolation to my soul in the depth of sorrow and distress, bade me be of good cheer, and promised deliverance." And then Hiram said, however, writing a month later, speaks of no spiritual premonitions. His straightforward statement was just this: "I thank God that I felt a determination to die rather than deny the things which my eyes had seen, which my hands had handled, and which I had borne testimony to, wherever my lot had been cast. And I can assure my beloved brethren that I was enabled to bear as strong a testimony when nothing but death presented itself as ever I did in my life. My confidence in God was likewise unshaken."
Dude.
Does that sound like the testimony of martyrs to you?
Right? Oof, that's good.
And so
Good.
I want to highlight the fact that we're dealing with something different here. We're dealing with a different situation where Joseph Smith is being illegally held. He's being illegally held in prison, and he has friends with him that he's trying to protect. This is the kind of thing where, hey, it's not the exact same situation as Christ going as a lamb to the slaughter, with going to his his atonement, to his crucifixion. This is them being held, waiting trial, and then being attacked by a mob.
Yeah. Okay. So we finish.
And I also just want to say, like, the tone of Ben's no, I just want to run up and hug the guy. I feel like, was Jesus in a gunfight? And he's just like, no. I'm like, oh man,
Yeah,
bring it
Nathan.
in, brother.
I feel bad.
I feel
for
so
him.
sorry for him. He's like,
He
just
kinda-
surrendered.
Frank masterfully controlled that conversation,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue.
No.
Jesus went to the cross like a lamb to the slaughter. That's a martyr. Charlie's a martyr. Charlie was wanting to hear what Hunter wanted to ask him, and Hunter didn't agree with Charlie. He said people could come to the front of the line if you don't agree with me.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hayden.
I know. So Charlie Kirk, he's passed away. We don't know what. Does nobody think that he would have tried to defend himself if he had the chance? Is that? I mean, where is Frank getting this idea that he would have just taken it?
It's a good point.
Or what if he was in a room with his wife and children? Would he have shot back? Like, I don't know. I don't think it's a fair comparison.
Yeah, it's purely for convenience.
It's not
and
just.
Frank
I don't think it's a fair comparison. It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It's pretty bad. He's using Charlie to discard Mormonism. I'm confused.
Yeah, well, no. Here's the other thing.
That's what it comes across to me as, Hayden.
But also, guys, we're not just talking about normal apologetics here. Like when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and then all of a sudden, all of the left in America was just like jokingly wearing freedom shirts with red blood all over it and going psh, 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 like this all over social media. It was like, this is disgusting. This isn't funny. This isn't like, Jake Paul getting knocked out in a fight and then we all kind of joke about, this isn't some dude, your buddy tripping on a skateboard and losing his tooth. This was a person who was shot until he had a catastrophic arterial damage and was murdered in front of all of his friends. And then people just started joking about it. This is a threshold that goes beyond humanity into the realm of we should not tolerate this as a society, into this is disgusting. And that was what was done to Charlie Kirk. And now Frank Turek is doing the exact same thing.
Here's one thing I want to be sensitive to in this, is that Frank Turek was right there, And so I do think that there's probably an aspect of that at play here, where he is getting overly emotional, thinking about what happened to Charlie Kirk and then using that to dunk on this kid who asked about witnesses to then dismiss the prophet Joseph Smith, right? So I don't think that this is necessarily coming from a place of
not just dismiss, right? Literally justify rhetorically his murder.
Did you guys already say that someone in the chat made a good point that he had guards? I'm sure they were packing. Yeah, so he wasn't defenseless. I don't know. I just think, and I kind of agree with Brad, like maybe this is some sort of traumatic response. I'm sure it is. I'm sure Frank was changed. If everything happened how Frank said it happened in the back of the car, I'm sure that was life-changing in a horrible way.
I hope
absolutely.
So. Like, I literally hope so, because a trauma response to witnessing death firsthand is one of the only excuses in my book that is left for Frank Turek to have engaged in rhetorical defense of murder for people that have sincerely held religious beliefs. Like, literally, a trauma response is the only excuse in my book that Frank Turek has left that makes me think he's still mother-freaking human. And there's any hope for white Christian nationalism. So I hope that this is a trauma response and he gets the help he needs and stops representing himself as an authority or an expert on Mormon history, theology, or doctrine. You're allowed to disagree with us all day long. It's fine to say, you know what, I'm a Trinitarian. I trust the ecumenical councils. I believe the Holy Spirit guided the ecumenical councils into an understanding of the nature of God that is not shared by Mormons who have a Godhead model. That's fine. That's totally fine.
And going back to a point that Cardon made earlier, like trauma response or not, is there not somebody on Frank's team who's like pulls him aside like, hey man, you okay? Like, we can't run with this. Like, we shouldn't clip it and put it on and keep promoting it because there's something going on. Something's off here with you.
Yeah, exactly. See, now that Kirk Frankham said it, you know it's true.
You mean Frank?
Dang it! I did it again! Oh my God!
No, you got it right. You're good. Now we just have you confused. We can just toy with you now.
Oh, did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
We're just going to gaslight you and say a different name next time.
Oh, that's funny. I've got 15 buttons I'm pressing all at once here, guys. Don't confuse me.
Here's a couple of super chats to catch up on. Mr. Flynn 510 says, presentism. Frank Turek is doing it. Yes, he's absolutely engaging in presentism when he
It's
tries
like
to apply.
Genealogy,
What?
I am doing it. Presentism.
Exactly. Yeah. Kev Maestro 11 says, have to agree. It was refreshing to see Cox be an alpha male, even if short lived. Sad to see the potential he has, but chooses to be a beta instead. I only use beta when people don't try to reach their potential. That's a funny aside.
Okay.
Poor Spencer Cox.
Yeah.
Let's not turn that guy into an enemy either, right? Like,
No,
ideally
good guy.
for me,
He proved himself.
Yeah, I want to do what we can to use this platform to say, hey, where can we find places we agree with these people around us and build a better understanding of one another? You know, I don't want this to turn into just a struggle session where it's like, hey, now Frank Turek bad forever, right? That's not what I want to be the outcome of this discussion here. I want for us to be able to find ways to say, hey, how do we manage our relationship with people like Frank Turek and maybe other people who share his beliefs? How do we approach them in the right way and be actual peacemakers? Now, Jonah Barnes, he says, excommunicate anyone who rejects infinite regress. Hayden?
Absolutely, yes. So then me and Jonah will be the only ones left in the church, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we like pure doctrine. You know, not heresies. But unlike Frank Turek, we don't really we wouldn't like justify violence against you.
Yeah, exactly.
We just kick you
I
out of
will
the church.
say, in my defense, infinite regress is the majority. Not saying it makes it right, but it is the majority traditional view.
Nah.
Yeah, I think I'm on that team. I'll go public
Okay,
about it.
What?
Let's go.
Is it?
What?
We should do an episode on that.
You've had too many funeral potatoes.
Didn't you already do an episode on that? Or you and Jacob kind of debate? about it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's still up or what happened to that. I don't know.
What? Guys, there's an entire Fair Mormon article that is this is settled theological science, not pioneer folklore. Do you think Bigfoot is Cain too? Like, we know that's a joke, right?
I only believe in the things that are fun to believe, and that's kind of fun to believe.
Yeah. That's a valid excuse.
I believe the fourth hand account in the Miracle Forgiveness that Cain is Bigfoot. I totally believe that.
Oh, rock on. I love
I'm down.
Read the last four super chats, Brad.
Al Jeffs 418 says, I don't know if Frank should wear that shirt. Then we've got G. Rourke says, did he ever address the Book of Mormon witnesses? He did not. He explicitly did not. He
tried with
dodged
me
it.
when I had my one-on-one with him, but he failed.
That's right. Well, I think in Frank's mind, he thinks, "Oh no, I addressed it. I told him they were motivated by power."
Yeah, no.
No, he did not meaningfully engage with it. And then Learn Through Music says, put Jonah on.
Oh. Well, we're not friends anymore, apparently, because he didn't answer my phone calls today. So.
Well, he was on the other live stream. I'm just going to say.
Oh, well, screw him. Benedict Arnold.
No, we can just be better about coordinating when we're doing live streams. That's not all
it's
that
like
difficult.
reserving the gym. You know, you need a scheduler that's like, well, we'd like to have a wedding reception. And like, no, Stigga Joseph is actually going to have a basketball game.
Oh, that's funny. What was their live stream on?
The debate, the Jacob's debate.
Oh, yeah. I gotta talk with Jacob on that too. That's going to be its own live stream for a different day, because that was crazy. You were there, Hayden, right? What was it like being in that room?
Sorry, which room was it?
James White v. Jacob Hansen.
It was exactly what we expected. James White is, I've said this and I'll say it again and I'll say it publicly, James White is the most, and he even said it himself during the debate, he is the most unpleasant person I've ever met in my entire life. He's not kind. He won't look you in the eye. If he doesn't like you, he won't shake your hand. I mean, there's no compassion whatsoever coming from him, and
it's all justified biblically. Like, he wouldn't shake after the debate his hand, and he said that was reprehensible. It's like, whoa.
Well, here's the thing: if James is elect, and if God chooses who's saved and who's not saved, it doesn't really matter how he acts, because he's elect, and he's not changing his election, and he's not changing anyone else's election. So you can kind of do whatever you want. Logically, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
So of course he can act however he wants.
All right.
Now, a final super chat here. Off Pioneer Games says, loved meeting you guys at the SLC takeover and talking about ministering to young men on YouTube. Sorry if asking this here is a party foul, but what is the best way to get in contact with you, Cardon?
Well, I'll tell you one, it is a party foul if it's a $10 super chat. If you would have done a $49.99 one, then I might have been. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
start there, and then we'll.
all right, come on, let's get real here. All right, no, I'm just kidding. Just reach out on our website. We actually do our best to check the email as often as possible. Luke helps me, Brittany helps me, and we try and stay on top of it. And I believe he has actually reached out before and is doing an interesting. I don't know if it's the same guy that has spoken with Ethan about a video game that I don't want to give away here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, reach out on the website, bro. We'd love to hear from you, and we're very grateful that you help us out with the super chat. So just reach out. Anyway, we're already deep into overtime here. Let's let this rest of this video play out, and then we'll go home and hang out with our non-religiously bigoted friends and colleagues and try and chill out and detox from this.
Mm-hmm. You're not a martyr if you're in prison for burning down a printing press, and then they smuggle guns into that jail and you try and blast your way out.
Which, by the way,
didn't happen.
Way out? What?
Yeah. So Hayden, earlier on we talked about how there is like probably one source which reports that Joseph Smith tried to break out. And it was very quickly debunked. It was not the case. It was a mob attacking Joseph Smith.
They were trying to hold the door shut and got shot point blank in the face. You can see in the death mask where the bullet enters Hiram Smith. He just watched his best friend get shot. He just watched his brother get shot. Then he gets iced in the back twice, in the front, and then they drag his body up, put him up next to a well, and then shoot him point blank. Dude, all he was barely able to do was try and protect his friends by sticking a gun through the door that misfired 3 times. He injured 4 people. It wasn't a gunfight. It was a desperate attempt to save his brother and his friend. You're a pig, Frank Turek. A disgusting, religiously bigoted, ignorant pig. Like, I'm sorry. Somebody has to say it. This is gross. It's unfactual. It is sickening. And it's why people hate the white American Christian right. Right there. And worse, it's done in the name of Charlie Kirk, who is an amazing man, who is not a pig and was not disgusting. So how dare you invoke God's name and Charlie Kirk's name? I'm sorry. I've lost my patience for this. It's just gross.
Frank is ignorant, or do you think he really is misrepresenting this on purpose?
I think he's got to be ignorant.
Dear God, I think dear God, I hope so.
I think he's had people tell him this kind of stuff, and then he just buys it, right? Because it's very convenient to just be able to dismiss all of this stuff about the Church of Jesus Christ.
Didn't Trent Horn make a comment about there was a Catholic who made a comment about a shootout or something? I'm pretty sure it was Trent Horn. Maybe it was Joe. It was Joe, or no, maybe it was Matt Fratt. I can't remember. It's one of those.
No, it was Trent Horn had mentioned something along those lines, but he was quickly
during
corrected.
the debate.
And by the way, Trent Horn is now actually having a very respectful engagement with Jacob Hansen.
Totally.
Where when he does his videos, he says, "Hey, dude, fact check me on this script. I want to make sure that I'm steel manning your guys' positions." Because again, there's plenty of reasons you can disagree with us. There's plenty of very valid reasons.
Trent's at the top of the Catholic apologist hierarchy for sure.
Here is a question that I have upon listening to this again and trying to be more charitable in my understanding of what Frank is saying.
Oh, like not calling him a pig on a live stream?
Yeah. Hey, no, I was doing it at the beginning. You're fine. Like I was just as frustrated, you know. I bristle so much at people behaving as though they are authorities on things that they're not, and he's very, very clearly not. So I don't know if, as we're listening to what he has to say, I think he's coming down extra hard on trying to say Joseph Smith wasn't a martyr, trying to double down on the idea that Joseph Smith had too much to gain from being a prophet, to say that he is a false prophet. I don't know if he's necessarily going for the idea that the shooting Joseph Smith was justified. I think he should recognize that the way he is saying this can absolutely be used to justify that, right? Even if that is not the rhetorical goal that he has, he's kind of making that argument here.
Yeah.
So that's something that I want to point out is if we're trying to be as charitable as we possibly can with what Frank Turek is saying, maybe he's not trying to say that it was justifiable for Joseph to be murdered by saying he wasn't a martyr. But it certainly is coming across that way when he is being as vehement as he is in saying the things that make it sound as though he agrees Joseph Smith had it coming.
And then fire your team that just made you look this bad and bigoted. Like fire your team, you know? So we let him finish.
But let me ask you this, Nathan. I appreciate you bringing this up, and it's difficult. We all have deeply felt beliefs.
Oh, just the patronizing is sickening.
And they're hard to just say.
It's so hard for you to understand how stupid you are for believing in somebody who's so obviously racist. This is no different than a social progressive saying, like, I know it's really hard to detach yourself from the bigotry that is so inherent in your whiteness, because your whiteness is just, your privilege is showing you. That's why you love Charlie, because he was bigoted too. And now that we're teaching you true love and softness, like, shut up. This is disgusting. I'm sorry, this patronizing is disgusting.
I'm going to give this up.
I'm going to give this up like it's a drug, like it's meth.
But when you look at Jesus of Nazareth, he didn't just claim to be God or claim to be the Messiah. He proved it. Not just by rising from the dead, but if you notice, we have 4 problems in this world.
By the way, Joseph Smith proved his prophethood through the Book of Mormon. Crack it open once.
Sin hurts us. Sickness hurts us. Natural laws, natural disasters hurt us. And our ultimate problem is death. Do you notice that when Jesus does miracles, he does miracles in those 4 areas?
Oh, geez, almost like the miraculous healings of Joseph Smith in Nauvoo. Oh, almost like the myriad miracles of the restoration, which you seem to not even know about.
Sinless. He can heal the sick. He can calm the storm. And he can raise the dead. Joseph Smith could do none of that.
Could not heal the sick. Come on. Like, and by the way, raise the dead. Yeah. Name a Methodist that saw Wesley raise the dead. Are we throwing out the Reformation? Name a Lutheran that saw Martin Luther raise the dead. Are we saying Protestantism is wrong?
There are accounts of Joseph raising the dead. Do we know that? There are.
Yes. There are attested accounts of Joseph performing miracles.
Yes, exactly.
And whether he did or didn't, like, what does that matter to?
I was trying to grant the premise. I did it inartfully, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he finishes.
Moses could do none of that. Muhammad could do none of that. Confucius could do none of that. Buddha could do none of that. Jesus is the Messiah. And Jesus said to his disciples, I will lead you into all truth. And that's the truth that they wrote down in what we call the New Testament. And so I think the evidence is very strong that biblical historical Christianity is true. And if it really is true, would you become that kind of Christian?
Yes.
Thank you. If I gave.
By the way, look at this. Poor Nathan, look at his face. He's just completely resigned to just like, I'll say yes.
Whatever I need to say to get away from this microphone.
Whatever I need to get the heck out of here. Like, yes, yes. So Frank Turek's walking away thinking, like, yeah, I got another one. And this kid's like, dear God, get me out of here. You know?
Give you a book, would you read it?
Yeah, totally.
Boom. Thank you.
By the way, you just saw.
Did you read it?
Yeah, you just saw an MLM happen. Like literally, like, oh, look, the power is in you to go make 50 more sales. If I give you a book on believing in yourself, will you go make 50 sales? And the awkward person behind the mic is like, yeah, I came here for my cousin who wanted me to buy Cutco knives. Yes, got another one. You know, just like, dear heavens. And then it finishes. Okay, there we are. There we are. It's over. Whew. Kurt Frankum, Hayden Carroll, say something before I do and get myself in more trouble.
I just
nothing.
I just hope we can get in contact with Frank Turek and have a conversation. That would be my hope. Considering this is done, this is posted, people have seen it. Let's have a a one-on-one, or if he wants to bring someone, I mean, whoever wants to engage with him in our circle, I'd be more than happy.
Any day of the week. Frank Turek, I will pay for you and somebody else your plane flights and a hotel to come to the Ward Radio Wigwam with any other person that makes you feel comfortable. Come.
I think the way you do it is you reach out to his people or whatever, and going through, say, hey, we're having a conference. What's his speaking fee? And let's just fundraise for the speaking fee and say, okay, we'll pay it. Let's do it. Here's the place.
The way to their hearts.
That could work. Because here's the thing. I don't like stuff like this, you know? And I doubt there's a very high chance of him seeing our debunking of what he said and taking any of us seriously, right? Like, I think he has to probably talk to somebody in person to recognize what's going on, right? Otherwise, I think he's just going to continue mudslinging about our church without knowing.
Yeah, dude. All right. Well, we got to get out of here. Unfortunately, we've got
a couple cool super chats I'll throw down really fast.
Hit it.
So we got Sintan says, wait, Cardon, this one is just for you. So he threw out that super chat just for you, Cardon.
Oh, thank you.
Then Ed2276 LES says, tell Sister Brittany for me that I'm sorry for calling her a cow, which I didn't last week, quoting that David's wives were given to him with a cow emoji.
I don't remember that, but I am not going to put cow and my wife in the same sentence just for fear that I inarticulately repeat whatever this super chat was. But I have a feeling it was very well intentioned. So thank you very much, Ed.
Yeah. Mr. Flynn 510 says, Turek wants to make that argument, yet have an out. I think that's maybe the uncharitable take, and that might be the realistic take, that he is trying to say that Joseph Smith had it coming, right? But yeah, I don't know. This just, I didn't like this at all. And then A.L. Jeff says, hey, the Sasquatch are a lost tribe, I'm pretty sure.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the Kurt Frankham take right there. You know, whatever's the most fun to believe in. He also thinks that Hagoth founded Tartaria, which will be the subject of another live stream.
Based?
I'm busy that night. Sorry.
You're busy that night. Sorry. Well, don't worry. Hayden believes in infinite regress. So, you know, you'll be in good company. No. So all the super chats are done, right, bro? We read all the super chats? Yes.
Yep, we're caught up.
Okay. So
yeah.
Talk, Brad. Give us an outro.
Oh, I'm just trying to think of, I don't know, this bugged me so much, and I don't like reviewing stuff like this and just getting so frustrated. Is this the kind of thing where we're supposed to just, hey, heed them not, and just don't even talk
wait
about
around
it?
for
What do you
another
think?
Thomas Jacob Sanford that was radicalized?
I do wonder
by
about
Frank
that, Cardon.
Turek?
Like, is that? Yeah, that's fair.
Like, there's a
what do you guys
reason
think,
why
Kurt and
Joseph
Hayden?
Smith. There's a reason why Joseph Smith made the charter in Nauvoo that he did, because he was so tired of fake extraditions that put his life in danger. He needed his own municipality that could protect him from actually being extradited under false pretenses. Directed by God to address anti-Mormonism, he stopped the translation of the Book of Abraham. Like, there are myriad scriptural examples where men of God were called to stop and address anti-Mormonism because it was beginning to affect and threaten not just the financial livelihood, but the very life of early members of the church. And people we take for granted this thin slice of human history where there's been some semblance, a thin veneer of civilization and a thin veneer of the U.S. Constitution that has protected this beautiful thing we call religious freedom that has never existed in the 6,000 years before it and may not exist in the 6,000 years after it. Okay? Where in any other pretext we would have been slaughtered as a religious minority. Okay? Because of people just like Frank Turek. So this has to be addressed, or else more grand blanks will happen. It's that simple. We have the formula. crazy anti-Mormon pastor says crazy crap about Mormons, calling them demonic, and then basically motivating people to violence. And fortunately, the regular folks are like, yeah, okay, I think he's speaking hyperbolically. Not the mentally ill ones. They grab guns and go into chapels. And unfortunately, our leadership is too stupid to allow our members to defend themselves. So it's enabled by poor leadership. And you can clip that one and send to whoever writes the handbooks. You know, so it's like, we do have to worry about this from people like Frank Turek. He's got 850,000 subscribers. He gets millions of views. This isn't some errant Southern Baptist preacher in Lighthouse Ministries of Springville, no-name state. This is a top 10
I think
YouTube
the
minister.
core of my concern, I agree with everything you're saying, Cardon. The core of my concern is I want to figure out how to approach this in a way that huge audience that you're talking about right now that watches Frank Turek doesn't see our debunking of him and then view us as the enemy because of how we debunked him. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to figure out how to more effectively accomplish moving forward. Because I don't know, I hope we accomplish that today. But hey, I'm open to feedback if anyone has any responses on how they think this can become a better thing. Because I don't know, I don't think we should be getting so riled up in anger about this in ways that lets us go off the handle a little bit. I know I did a little bit throughout this live stream, right? So
You're the
I don't
only
know.
one.
I'm curious. Huh?
You were the only one.
Yeah. Card's been calm, cool, and collected the whole time. So.
I've been cool as a
Yeah.
cucumber, bro. You know, so
Yeah.
you got to speak for yourself.
But this is an ongoing conversation I'm very interested in, and I think we can find a way to.
Yeah. How can we quit the most popular YouTube and Instagram ministers from justifying violence against religious minorities? Yeah, I think that's a great conversation topic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and that's where I go back to. We gotta stimulate a group of allies who, they don't necessarily agree with us, but they're willing to talk with us, and then turn towards Frank and be like, dude, you're crazy. Like, pipe down.
Yeah. So, all right, read the last two super chats. Then you guys are going to explain who you are, what you're working on, and then we're going to get out of here. So, last two super chats, Brad.
Okay. Crazy LDS Mess Mom says, I'm with Chandler. There's a lot of shields out there. That's great. But I just have a personality like Peter, and in war, sometimes you got to pull out your sword.
Yes, but you got to be a counter striker. I'm sorry. There's a new breed that I feel uncomfortable with of these short form apologists who are doing the evangelical thing of, look at this dumb Protestant saying, like, I'm sorry, I just don't feel comfortable with it. If you're taking out your sword in a counterpunch, I'm fine with it. But just deciding to make a video based off of some beef that you have with somebody else's theology is a violation of the 11th article of faith to allow people to worship how, where, and what they may. I've never made a video going out and just saying, I'm going to give you the top 5 reasons why Trinity is so stupid. Or else, look at this Presbyterian trying. No. We will address videos of religious bigotry, and we will do it as aggressively as we can, but it is a counterpunch only ethos on this channel. So I don't know which channel she's talking about, but
yeah, when I think about like what the Lord's law of war looks like, right? We have it there in the Doctrine and Covenants, and he tells us not to strike back on the first offense, right? And that we will be blessed even more for not responding on the second offense, and an even higher blessing on the third, while the fourth offense then will be justified in responding, right? Now that's talking about physical force, and I wonder how directly analogous that is, right? That might be an interesting conversation to have at some point. But yeah.
Okay, and then the last super chat.
Okay. G. Rourke says, the older I get, the more I am convinced that nonviolence is the way to go. As much as I hate it, there is a reason we are taught to be peacemakers. Even Joseph struggled with this and agonized over the tribulations of the saints. Love you guys. Yeah, I'm torn on that, because when I look at being a peacemaker, I think that there is something to the way. I don't think that it necessarily needs to be the way of the anti-Nephi Lehites. You know, the way that got discussed a little bit at our thing with
Jared Halverson.
Thank you, with Jared Halverson last week. I don't think it necessarily needs to be that. I look at stuff like Captain Moroni, where he gives the opportunity to make a covenant of peace as many times as he possibly can. And I think that's a valid way to be a peacemaker as well. I just think the reason we're being asked to be peacemakers is because it's really the only way it works. So at least for me, I'm personally going to be praying about how to be doing better.
Well, let me give you a hint. Do you know how much violence was avoided because Jonathan Browning outfitted an entire motherfucking army in the Nauvoo Legion that was so powerful it rivaled the strength of the U.S. Army? You want to talk peacemaking? Do you know how much anti-Mormon violence was stopped before it started because Mormons treaded lightly and carried a very, 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 very large stick? Like, if you're trying to tell me peacemaking is bringing the Nauvoo Legion back so people like Frank Turek can't stochastically motivate Thomas Jacob Sanford 2.0 to come into a church in Poughkeepsie, Arkansas, sure. You know?
So the thing that I'm thinking of, Cardon, is again, like President Nelson said, he's not talking about peace at any price. And this is probably the kind of thing that is going to take a lot of practice and a lot of focus on love for even our enemies, right? That was what President Oaks just talked about at conference. And so, yeah, at least in this, I was feeling like Frank Turek is positioning himself as our enemy, right? And so how do I engage with that? That's something I'm going to be thinking about and trying to figure out how to do better.
And I, by the way, feel guilty now being your friend. But
don't feel guilty, right? Like, you shouldn't. I think like this is part of what we're here in the world to do. This is part of the work of salvation, is learning how to live the commandments that Jesus gave, right? To return blessings for cursings, right? And how do we manage that? That's something I'm just at the end of this, now that I've called out Frank Turek and said he's disgusting in the worst, right? Now I'm thinking,
well,
like,
that
okay,
was
what can I
me.
do to
That
be
was
better?
me. You did much
No,
better.
it was both of us, Cardon. I
Okay.
said it too at the beginning, right?
That's fine.
But yeah, so another final super chat came in. That was James Frank 6285 said, "Yo, I've loved y'all. I love y'all. Listened to y'all while I was on my mission. Much love." Thank you, James Frank.
Oh.
That is awesome feedback to get. Sorry if that's a little bit of a downer. I think, like, anyone who thought Frank Turek was making a compelling argument, he's like completely wrong, flat out false. Everything he's saying was directly incorrect, and we, I think, did a pretty good job of debunking that. But yeah, I want to find a way to deliver that in a more Christ-like way moving forward if I can.
Yeah, I failed. In this live stream, but I'll do better next time. I'll have
Hey, me too.
Right? You live in the gospel, Cardon.
Yeah, for
We're
real.
inspired by it.
I'm sorry, man. This is what led this is the rhetoric that I warned about since the Midnight Mormon days that actually happened. How many times did I say something's going to happen in one of our churches because the rhetoric of these pastors and also the ignorance of our leaders that write the handbook and don't let members of our church that can legally defend themselves. And both those things happened. And the second one is still, actually, both of them are still happening. So, yeah. Hayden, Frank, Brad, what are you guys working on? Where can people find you?
Kurt, I think you mean Kurt.
Sorry. Oh, God.
At this point, I'm not sure if you're meaning to do it. Oh, this is good.
He's not even willing to repent.
Yeah.
He's doing it over and over.
I just need to write on my forehead here.
Kurt, I'm so sorry. It's because I've got, okay, actually, let me explain to you why this is happening. When I pull up the browser here.
You're a bad person. That's why.
Yeah, no. When I pull up the browser here on the window, I'm staring at Frank Turek. And the live stream window that you can't see here is titled Frank Turek Spits Some Anti-Mormon Garbage and
Cardon.
Real Members React. I'm
Cardon.
looking at Frank on every one of these little
Cardon,
windows that I've got here.
See the tears in Kurt's eyes? He doesn't care. The excuses, he doesn't care.
That's true. I'm sorry.
Just
I'm
move on,
sorry,
brother.
Kurt. So, Kurt,
by
what are
the
you
way,
working on, and how can people find you? Yeah.
So people can find me wherever they're listening to this. You type in Leading Saints, and you'll find some fantastic leadership content in the context of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And also, I will plug this in an effort to combat any negative sentiment there is with Elders Quorum. We are putting on a Warrior Heart men's retreat in Arizona at the end of April, at the end of this month. And so if you go to awarriorheart.com, see all the details, and join me. Let's come and learn how to make Elders Quorum right.
Okay.
Kurt, where in Arizona?
In Williams.
Williams. How far is that from Phoenix?
It's a couple hours. So just outside of they just announced the temple there.
Is it Prescott?
No, no, the other woodsy area.
Payson.
Why can I think of it?
Bottom of the
Anyways.
Grand Canyon.
Let's connect because
Flagstaff.
Oh yeah, Flagstaff. Okay, that's a couple hours.
Well, the hippies are.
Yeah,
That's right.
Right, NAU.
Okay, Hayden, what are you doing, man?
I am posting videos weekly on my channel. Let's Talk with Hayden Carroll. I recently wrote a book. Find it on Amazon, The Creation Dilemma, and I'm working on another book of Solo Scriptura debunk.
Oh.
So look forward to that in the coming months.
Okay, cool, sweet. And Brad, what are you doing, bro?
I think he's gone. I think he left.
Oh, did his computer might have.
He's on his knees repenting for his actions.
Oh,
this evening.
crap. I'll have to call him, see what's up.
He fell.
It was too much for him.
You know, it's just like, his wife's like, come to bed. So, yeah, it is. Who knows? Oh my gosh, it's 10:30 for you guys there. All right. So, guys, before we go, thanks so much for hanging out with us, reacting to this hot anti-Mormon garbage. If you guys want to support the channel, please consider purchasing a shirt or one of our popular War in Heaven veteran hats. Also, big shout out to everybody that we saw at the Salt Lake City takeover. It was an absolute blast. What were your guys' thoughts? What did you think, Kurt, of the Salt Lake City takeover, my man?
Man, I'm a big fan of the community, and anytime you can gather like-minded individuals who believe in the restored gospel and one random Protestant pastor, I'm game. So
yeah, it was pretty cool. You missed out, Hayden, but you had an excuse.
Next time. If you hold it every conference, I'll be there.
Yeah, word. So anyway, all right. Oh, hey, Brad just texted me. I want to see what happened. This is really kind of funny. Yeah, he said, sorry, man, my computer died. I knew it. By the way, anybody else with that new iOS, their phone's going dead by like 4 p.m. every single day?
I didn't download it. Should I not?
Oh, dude, man, my phone doesn't last like half as long with that new iOS. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comments below if you're watching the restream of this. But dude, we had almost 800 people watching simultaneously, man. This is a big live stream. Our live stream has been really popular lately, and we want to keep having them. So please make sure that you subscribe to this channel and you click the bell icon. Also, consider becoming a member of the channel. Members get preferential treatment in the chat. They also oftentimes get early access to many of our videos that will come out as a member's first production. So you can get on for, it's inexpensive. Check it out. We've got all kinds of different little tiers there, but please consider joining, becoming a member of this channel. Also, if you want to support the channel, we have an Amazon wish list. Big shout out to M. Smith. I got a couple of packages at the studio door today that I haven't had a chance to open yet, but he's been a very generous contributor by purchasing some of the things that are on our Amazon wish list, along with many others. Okay. And also, if you want to financially contribute to the 501c3 of Ward Radio, please reach out on our website as well. We are going to be accepting contributions there as well. And there was one other thing that I was going to say that was totally awesome. I can't remember what it is. Another event's coming up. Okay, can't release that one yet. Oh yeah, we're going to be doing another live stream tomorrow and then also on Thursday. Hopefully decompressing with Jacob Hansen, talking about his debate with James White, and then also the final episode on our docuseries on SRA comes out, and we'll be doing hopefully a live stream with Jonah here promptly. So make sure that you guys subscribe to this channel and you hang out with us for our live streams. Other than that, it's been real and it's been fun, and it's been real fun for this and more. You guys hang out on the other side of this. I got a brief little outro. For this and more, please make sure that you guys check us out at wardradio.com.
I built a rocket in my bed.